The first thing I noticed was the empty space. There should have been a brass placard beside the ballroom doors. I had seen it 2 weeks earlier in a photograph from the venue. It said, "Hosted by Ruth Steele." That evening, there was only a narrow table with 2 candles. Guests walked past it carrying wine and folded programs. Nobody stopped. Nobody knew anything was missing. I stood near the back wall of Hearthstone House. My chair was at the last table by the service doors. Every time a server entered, cold air touched my shoulder. Across the room, my son was smiling for photographs. Gabriel looked handsome in his dark suit. Tired, too. He had worked for that degree at night and on weekends. I knew what it had cost him. I had watched him leave Sunday dinner early because he had a paper due. I had listened while he complained about group projects and finance exams. I was proud of him. That part was still true. Then Caitlin took the microphone. She thanked the professors near the front. She thanked her parents for driving up. She thanked Gabriel's coworkers and everyone who had supported him. Gabriel stood beside her with one hand in his pocket. Caitlin looked toward my table. For 1 second, I thought she was finally going to say my name properly. Gabriel saw me watching him. His eyes dropped to the floor. That was when I understood he already knew. 6 weeks earlier, I had been eating soup at my kitchen table when Gabriel called. It was a Tuesday evening. Rain tapped against the balcony door. I had tomato soup in one of Donald's old bowls and half a grilled cheese going cold beside it. "Mom, are you busy?" Gabriel asked. "You called during dinner, so I assume this is important." He laughed. "You always say that. And you always call during dinner. I can call back." "No, I've already answered. What's going on?" He paused long enough for me to put down my spoon. Gabriel was 33. He had been married to Caitlin since 2019. He still used that same pause from childhood whenever he wanted something and felt embarrassed to ask. "My graduation date is confirmed," he said. I sat up. "It is?" "Second Saturday in June." "Oh, Gabriel, I know. It finally feels real." He had started the part-time MBA program in 2024. Between his job and classes, he had stretched himself thin. I worried about him, but I tried not to hover. There's a difference between caring and making yourself a permanent guest in someone else's decisions. Donald had been better at knowing that difference. My husband died in 2021. He was 67. Afterward, I had to learn which silences were peaceful and which ones could swallow an entire day. Gabriel called more often during that first year. Sometimes he came by with groceries I hadn't requested. Sometimes he sat at my table and talked about nothing. Then the calls became shorter. That happens when an adult child is building a life. I knew that. I kept telling myself I knew it. "So what are you planning?" I asked. "That's the thing." There was the pause again. "Caitlin thinks we should have a real celebration." A real celebration sounds expensive. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. How much is not ridiculous? He gave a nervous laugh. "We haven't gotten that far. Of course they had." I picked up my mug, then set it down untouched. "What are you asking me, Gabriel?" he breathed out. "Would you help us with the party?" There it was. I looked across my condominium. Donald's photograph stood on the bookcase. It was the one from our anniversary dinner. He hated having his picture taken, so his smile looked slightly suspicious. How much help? We found a place on North Main Street, Hearthstone House. I knew the building. It was an old brick home that had been turned into an event venue. I had passed it many times. "They have a ballroom?" Gabriel continued. "Dinner, tables, staff, everything. It would be one payment instead of dealing with 6 vendors. And what's the payment? $18,400. I stared at the rain. That's very specific for something you haven't gotten that far on. I know how that sounds. How does it sound? Like we already planned it before asking you. Yes. We looked. That's all. Can you afford any of it? Not right now. His answer came quietly. I knew their finances in the general way mothers know things nobody explains. Gabriel earned a reasonable salary. Caitlin did too. But they carried the kind of expenses that arrived before each paycheck had settled. A newer apartment, 2 car payments, restaurant photographs every weekend, little trips described as necessary breaks. I didn't criticize them. It wasn't my household. Still, $18,400 wasn't help with a cake. It was the party. "What does the payment include?" I asked. "Dinner for 80 guests, drinks, the ballroom, staff, decorations, a sound system. Who are the 80 people? Family, friends, people from work, a few professors. Your father's sister?" "Yes." "And my cousins from New Haven? If you want them there." That answer bothered me. Not enough to stop me, just enough to notice. Gabriel continued, "Mom, I know it's a lot. I wouldn't ask if this degree didn't mean so much. It means a great deal, to all of us." Another careful phrase. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the mug. "What does Caitlin say?" "She thinks it would be a wonderful gift." I asked what she says, not what she thinks. He went quiet. Then I heard Caitlin in the background. "Tell her we want her involved," Gabriel repeated. "She wants you involved." I heard her. Caitlin came closer to the phone. "Hi, Ruth." "Hello, Caitlin. We don't want you to feel pressured. Gabriel just deserves one night where he isn't worried about a bill. So do most people." She laughed. Gabriel didn't. "We can handle the guest list and design," she said. "You wouldn't have to chase anyone. That's generous. I'm trying to make it easy." I looked at Donald's photograph again. He and I had saved carefully. We weren't wealthy. We had simply paid off our home before he died, and I sold it the following year. I bought the condominium with cash. The remaining money stayed in accounts, carrying only my name. Donald used to say a gift should feel clean after you gave it. No hooks, no private resentment. I asked myself whether I could pay for the party cleanly. At that moment, I believed I could. "All right," I said. "Send me the venue information." Gabriel sounded younger immediately. "Really?" "I'll meet with them first." "Mom, thank you. I haven't signed anything. I know. Thank you anyway." Caitlin said, "This is going to be beautiful." I heard their relief. I also heard a cabinet door close in their kitchen. Such an ordinary little sound. They had made their request, received the answer they wanted, and moved on to dinner. I sat with my cold soup another 10 minutes. 2 days later, I drove to Hearthstone House. It stood at 44 North Main Street in West Hartford. The front steps were wide, and the brass door handle had been polished recently. Inside, the floors creaked beneath a long runner. Sydney Newton met me in the entrance hall. She was 38 and carried a black event binder against her hip. She spoke plainly, which I appreciated. "You're Mrs. Steele?" "Ruth is fine. I'm Sydney. Gabriel and Caitlin toured last Saturday, so I understand." She led me into the ballroom. Round tables filled the room. Cream curtains hung over tall windows. At the far end stood a small raised platform with a lectern. They selected the Saturday evening package, Sydney said. "Dinner begins at 6. The room closes at 11. Who is hosting?" She checked the binder. "You are the contracting host. Gabriel is the honoree." I looked toward the entrance. "Does the host's name appear anywhere?" We put a brass placard near the program table. It would say, "Hosted by Ruth Steele." We also include the host on the printed program. That pleased me more than I expected, not because I needed praise. I wanted the arrangement to be honest. Sydney opened the binder and showed me the event agreement. The total base cost was $18,400. It covered the room, dinner, drinks, staff, basic flowers, and sound equipment. I read each page. Sydney waited without rushing me. One section explained changes. If someone wanted another room or additional service, the account holder had to approve it in writing. So Gabriel can't add something and send me the bill afterward? "No," Sydney said. "Only you can authorize an added charge." "And Caitlin?" Same answer. I nodded. It seemed like an ordinary protection. I didn't imagine it would matter. Sydney pointed to the signature line. "You can place half today and pay the balance 14 days before the event. I'd rather settle it." The full amount? Yes. I wrote the check at her desk. My hand paused before I signed. Not from doubt, exactly. $18,400 is enough to make anyone pause. Then I signed Ruth Steele. Sydney copied the paid invoice and slid it behind the executed agreement. She gave me both in a blue folio. "Keep these together," she said. "I keep everything together." She smiled. "Then we'll get along." Before leaving, I stood in front of the staging cabinet while she showed me the brass placard. My name had already been printed beneath the clear insert, hosted by Ruth Steele. I touched the edge with one finger. It wasn't grand. It wasn't even large. Still, it told the truth. At home, I put the blue folio on my desk. Then I called Gabriel. "It's paid," I said. He was silent. "All of it?" "All of it." "Mom, you don't have to keep saying thank you." "Yes, I do. Then say it once properly. Thank you." "Really?" I smiled despite myself. "When do I see the guest list? Caitlin's cleaning it up. Your aunt and my cousins need time to travel. I'll remind her. I gave you their addresses." "I know." The next afternoon, Caitlin emailed me a sample invitation. The design was simple: heavy cream paper, dark green lettering. Gabriel's name appeared across the top, followed by a line about celebrating his graduation. At the bottom, it said, "Please join Gabriel and Caitlin Steele for dinner and dancing." I read it twice. My name wasn't there. I told myself invitations often named the honoree. I told myself the placard and program would identify the host. Then I looked at the recipient list attached to the email. My cousins weren't included. Neither was Donald's sister. I called Caitlin. She answered on the fourth ring. "Hi, Ruth." "Did you see the design?" "I did. Where are the rest of the names?" "What names?" "The relatives I sent you." "Oh." "We had to make choices. The contract covers 80 guests. "Yes, but there are people from Gabriel's program. Networking matters right now." "How many relatives did you remove?" "I didn't remove anyone. The list wasn't final. You removed them from the list you sent me." She sighed. "Ruth, this is Gabriel's professional achievement. We want the room to reflect where he's going. His aunt supported him while he was getting there. I understand that. Then put her back. We'll discuss it." "With whom?" "Gabriel and I." I waited. Caitlin filled the silence. "We're trying to avoid turning this into a family reunion. I didn't ask for a reunion. I asked for 4 seats. I'll see what we can do." After she hung up, I called Gabriel. He didn't answer until that evening. "Mom, I'm walking to my car. I'll be brief. Did you see the guest list?" I glanced at it. "Your aunt isn't on it." Caitlin said there were space issues. "There are 80 seats. I'm paying for 80 seats. I know." "Do you want your aunt there?" Another pause. "Of course." "Then tell your wife." "Mom, please don't start this." I stood at my desk with the invitation open. Start what? A fight over names. I asked one question. Caitlin has done a lot of work. So have I. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? He lowered his voice. I just want to get through this without everyone getting upset. Who is everyone? You know what I mean. I did know. Everyone meant Caitlin. Your mother asking for 4 family seats shouldn't spoil your achievement. I never said it would. You said not to start something. I have to drive. He hung up after a quick goodnight. I stayed beside my desk. At first, I thought Gabriel was tired. He had work, exams, and graduation arrangements. It was easy to blame the pressure. Then I noticed something else. He hadn't asked why my name was missing. I printed Caitlin's invitation. I placed it inside the blue folio with the paid invoice and the agreement. Then I called Sydney. I have a small request, I said. Of course. Please send all changes involving my account directly to me. We already do. Even if Gabriel or Caitlin asks first, you're the account holder. Nothing changes without your approval. I looked down at the invitation. And the host placard? It's in my staging cabinet. Keep it there. I will. That gave me one useful answer. Whatever Caitlin changed on paper, the agreement still carried my name. I took out a notebook and wrote the date. Beneath it, I listed the missing relatives and Gabriel's exact words. Then I closed the blue folio and left it on my desk where I could reach it. The next morning, I took out the guest list Gabriel had first sent me. It was an informal list. Some names had question marks, others had notes beside them, such as work or school. My relatives were there. Donald's sister was there. My own name appeared at the top. Host, Mom. I hadn't noticed that note before. I compared it with Caitlin's new list. She had removed 11 relatives. In their places were people I didn't know. Most had company names beside them. I called Gabriel before he went to work. He answered through the car speaker. "Everything okay? I found your original guest list." "What guest list? The one you sent before I paid?" "Oh, right. Your aunt was on it." "I know. So were my cousins." "I know, Mom." "You keep saying you know." A turn signal clicked through the speaker. Caitlin had to add some people. Who? People from her office. A few of my managers. "Did you ask her to remove the family?" "No. Did you agree to it?" He didn't answer. "Gabriel?" I said she should do what made sense. For whom? Can we not do this while I'm driving? You called me from the car when you wanted the money. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. I answered then. He sighed. "I'll call you tonight. You said that yesterday." I did call. "You called to tell me not to start something." The clicking stopped. "I'll talk to Caitlin," he said. "When?" "Tonight." "And then?" "I don't know. I'll ask about my aunt." "Ask?" "Mom." "All right, ask." He ended the call without saying goodbye. I stood at the counter holding my phone. Donald's bowl was still in the drying rack. I put it away, then took it back out because I had placed it on the wrong shelf. That was the kind of thing grief did after several years. It stopped knocking you down. It moved small objects when you weren't looking. Sunday dinner had been our family habit. Donald roasted chicken. I made potatoes. Gabriel arrived hungry, even after he married. Caitlin usually brought wine and left it unopened. After Donald died, I kept cooking. At first, Gabriel came every week, then every other week. Then Sunday dinner became something we discussed more often than we ate. That Sunday, I had already bought a chicken. I texted Gabriel before noon. Dinner at 5. "Are you both coming?" He replied 20 minutes later. "We'll try." I should have known what that meant. Still, I peeled potatoes. At 4:30, I set 3 places. I used the everyday dishes, not the good ones. I put the chicken on the bottom rack and checked my phone twice. At 5:10, Gabriel called. "Mom, I'm sorry." I sat down without taking off my oven mitt. "You're not coming. We got behind on errands." "What errands? Party stuff, clothes, some printing." Caitlin's invitation. "Printing?" "She ordered them this morning." My hand tightened inside the mitt. "She sent me a sample 2 days ago. I guess she liked it." "Did she add my name?" "What?" "To the invitation." "I don't know. You saw it." "Not closely." I looked at the empty plates. "Did you speak to her about your aunt?" I mentioned it. "What did she say?" "That we might be able to move things around." "Did she put her back?" "I don't know yet." The timer rang. "I need to take the chicken out. We can come by later." "For dinner?" "Probably not. Maybe for a few minutes." "You don't need to." "Mom, don't be like that." I opened the oven. Heat touched my face. "Like what, hurt?" "I didn't say I was hurt, I can tell." "Then perhaps you can tell why." He was quiet. "We'll come next Sunday," he said. "You said that last Sunday. This month is busy." "Yes, I'll make it up to you." I turned off the oven. "Good night, Gabriel." "Mom, I have food to put away." I packed the potatoes into a glass container. I removed the skin from half the chicken and divided the meat into smaller portions. Then I cleared 2 untouched plates. At 7, the doorbell rang. Gabriel stood outside alone. He had a garment bag over one shoulder. "I thought you weren't coming. I said I might stop by. You said we." "Caitlin's tired." I stepped aside. He walked into the kitchen and lifted the foil covering the chicken. "That smells good. You can take some." "Are you sure? I cannot eat an entire chicken." He smiled as if nothing had happened. That smile had worked on me since he was small. It wasn't manipulation then. Later, I think we both continued using it because we knew our parts. I opened a container. Dark meat or white? Both, if you have enough. I have enough. He sat at the kitchen table while I packed his dinner. He glanced at the third place setting, which I hadn't cleared yet. You set the table. I generally do that before dinner. I'm sorry. I placed the container in front of him. Did you come for food? No. I brought my suit. He unzipped the garment bag. The jacket was navy blue. What do you think? It looks nice. Too plain? It's a graduation dinner, not your coronation. He laughed. I wanted to ask about Dad's cufflinks. I looked at him. The silver ones? Yeah. The square ones he wore to my wedding. They're in my bedroom. Would you mind if I wore them? No. I went to get them. Donald kept his cufflinks in a wooden box with a shallow drawer. I hadn't opened it in months. His watch was still there, along with 2 tie clips and a folded receipt from a shoe repair shop that no longer existed. The silver cufflinks were wrapped in a soft cloth. I carried them to the kitchen and set them beside Gabriel's suit. He opened the cloth carefully. These are the ones. Your father bought them before you were born. I remember him wearing them. He wore them whenever I told him a tie wasn't enough. Gabriel smiled down at them. He would have been proud. Yes. The word came out smaller than I intended. Gabriel looked toward the bookcase. Donald's photograph faced us from across the room. I wish he could be there. So do I. For a minute, there was no party problem. There was only my son holding his father's cufflinks. Then Gabriel wrapped them again and placed them in his pocket. Can I keep these until June? Of course. He stood and picked up the food container. I almost let him leave. Did you approve the final guest list? He stopped near the door. Mom, we were having a good moment. We can have a good moment and answer a question. His shoulders lowered. I told Caitlin she could finalize it. Before or after I paid? He looked at the floor. Before. That was the first clean answer he had given me. So you already knew some relatives might be removed. She said we needed room. You asked me to pay for 80 people. You didn't tell me that people from my family would lose their seats. They're my family, too. Then why weren't you concerned? I was concerned. What did you do? He adjusted the garment bag. I trusted my wife. That isn't an answer. It's the answer I have. I waited. He rubbed his forehead. Caitlin thinks the party could help me professionally. She knows how these things work. And I don't. I didn't say that. You don't need to. You only needed me for the part I understood. His head came up. That's not what happened. What part did you want me involved in? The whole thing. Name one decision you asked me to make. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The refrigerator hummed behind me. Finally, he said, You chose the venue. No. You chose it. I approved the payment. You reviewed the contract. That is another way of saying I paid carefully. Why are you making it sound ugly? I'm trying to understand it. I wanted you involved. You wanted me helpful. He flinched. I hadn't planned to say that. Once I did, I couldn't pretend I hadn't heard myself. Gabriel set the food container on the small table by the door. Do you want me to give the cufflinks back? No. Because it feels like you're tying everything together. I'm not. Those belong to your father. The party is separate. Then why bring it up now? Because now is when you told me the truth. He looked toward the kitchen. I'll make sure Aunt Helen is invited. I had avoided using her name before because I didn't want another person pulled into our disagreement. Hearing Gabriel say it made the problem feel ordinary and embarrassing. Call Caitlin now, I said. What? Tell her now. I'm not doing that in front of you. Why? Because it's between me and my wife. The seat is at a dinner I paid for. He picked up the container again. I said I'd handle it. You also said you'd handle it yesterday. His jaw moved. Then he took out his phone. Caitlin answered quickly. Hey, are you still at your mom's? Yes. He looked at me while he spoke. Put Aunt Helen back on the list. There was a pause. I couldn't hear Caitlin's exact words. Gabriel said, "I know." Then take off one of the +1s. Another pause. "No, this matters." His eyes left mine. I should have said something earlier. Caitlin's voice became louder, but still unclear. Gabriel walked closer to the door. "I'm not doing this now. Just add her, please." He ended the call. "She'll add her. And my cousins?" He shook his head. "Mom, I got 1 seat back. Can that be enough tonight?" The question hurt more than I expected. Not because 1 seat was nothing. It was proof he could speak when I made silence uncomfortable enough. "Yes," I said. "Tonight, that's enough." He nodded and left with the chicken, the suit, and Donald's cufflinks. I locked the door behind him. Then I stood in my entryway wondering why I felt relieved. 1 seat had been returned to a room holding 80. My own name was still absent from the invitation, yet I had accepted that small correction like someone had done me a kindness. The next afternoon, Caitlin called. "Ruth," I added Helen. "Thank you." I had to remove someone. I assumed so. It was my supervisor's partner. I didn't respond. She continued. "I hope Helen understands how tight the list is. She doesn't know she was removed. That's probably best." "For whom?" "I'm just saying there's no reason to create hurt feelings." I ran my finger along the edge of the blue folio. "Will the invitation show who is hosting?" "We already ordered them." That wasn't my question. It's not customary to put the payer's name on a graduation invitation. I didn't ask to be called the payer. I know, I didn't mean it that way. "How did you mean it?" Caitlin sighed. "Gabriel is the focus. We're trying to keep everything tasteful. Would my name make it less tasteful?" "Ruth, please." There it was again. Please didn't mean kindness. It meant stop asking. "I'll see you at the party," she said. "That is the current plan." She paused. "Why would you say it like that?" "Because plans seem flexible lately." After the call, I went to my desk. I opened a folder of old household records. Inside were grocery receipts, repair bills, and notes in Donald's handwriting. For years, I had kept track of what our family needed. After he died, I kept doing it for Gabriel. I had paid for a new set of tires when his car failed inspection. I had covered the deductible when a pipe leaked in their apartment. I brought groceries when he studied late. I cooked meals they forgot to come eat. None of those things had been forced from me. That was the uncomfortable part. I had offered before they asked. Sometimes I offered because I loved them. Sometimes I offered because being useful gave me a reason to expect a place. I had mistaken access for closeness. That realization didn't make me angry. It made me sit very still. I pulled the Sunday dinner calendar from the side of my refrigerator. 3 Coming was written beside the next weekend in pencil. I erased it. Then I wrote, "Ask first." My phone rang while I was putting the calendar back. It was Gabriel. "Mom, did Caitlin call you?" "Yes. She said you sounded strange. I asked about the invitations. She thinks you're upset over wording. I'm upset that you asked me to host something privately and disappear publicly. You're not disappearing." "Where does my name appear?" "At the venue." "Because the venue knows who signed. That's not the only reason." "What is another reason?" He didn't answer. I looked at my new note on the calendar. "Are you coming Sunday?" I asked. "I thought we were." "Then ask me." He gave a confused laugh. "What?" "Ask whether I'm available. Don't assume dinner is waiting." "Okay. Are you available Sunday?" I looked at the 3 faint dents left by my pencil. "Yes, at 5. We'll be there. If plans change, tell me before I cook. I will." After we hung up, I put 1 chicken on my shopping list instead of 2. It was a small thing. Still, it was the first Sunday meal I planned around an answer instead of a hope. On Sunday, they arrived at 5:20. Gabriel carried wine. Caitlin carried nothing. "Sorry," he said. "Parking was terrible." There were open spaces beside my building. I took the bottle and put it on the counter. "Dinner is still warm." Caitlin kissed my cheek without quite touching it. "It smells wonderful." I had set 3 places again. This time I hadn't put anything in the oven until Gabriel texted that they were leaving. That small delay saved the potatoes. We sat at the table. Gabriel ate quickly. Caitlin moved her chicken around with her fork. "Is something wrong with it?" I asked. "No, it's good. I had a late lunch." "You could have told me." "I didn't know how much I'd eat." Gabriel reached for another spoonful of potatoes. "I'll handle her share," Caitlin smiled at him. They had an entire conversation in that smile. I wasn't included in it. For a few minutes, we discussed the graduation ceremony. Gabriel had received 4 tickets. Caitlin would use one. I would use another. She said her parents wanted the remaining 2. "That's fine," I said. Caitlin looked surprised. "Really? Why wouldn't it be? I thought you might want to invite someone. It's the ceremony. I'm going. That's enough." Gabriel slowed his chewing. "See? This is nice." "What is?" I asked. All of us sitting here without tension. Caitlin gave him a warning look. I folded my napkin. I didn't bring up the tension. "No one said you did," she replied. Gabriel took a drink of water. "Can we talk about the party schedule?" "Of course," I said. Caitlin reached into her handbag. She brought out 2 folded sheets and placed them beside her plate. "We've been refining the flow. The flow? When people arrive. When dinner starts. Speeches. Photographs." I held out my hand. She passed me the first page. At 6, cocktails began in the entrance hall. Dinner started at 7. At 8:15, Caitlin would welcome everyone. Gabriel would speak after dessert. I read the page again. Am I speaking? "We weren't planning many speeches," Caitlin said. "There are 4 listed. 1 is a professor, 1 is Gabriel's supervisor, and 1 is you. I'm introducing the program." "Who introduces the host?" Her fork touched her plate with a small click. "The venue doesn't really need an introduction. I wasn't asking about the building." Gabriel leaned back. "Mom, if you want to say something, you can." Caitlin looked at him. "We already timed everything." "It can be 2 minutes," he said. She turned to me. "Do you want to give a toast?" The way she asked made it sound like I had requested a song at the wrong church. "I want to congratulate my son." "Then we'll add you." She took the page back and made a small mark in the margin. "Before or after his supervisor?" I asked. "We'll figure it out." I nodded. The second page listed table arrangements. My name appeared at table 9. "Where is table 9? "Near the back," Caitlin said. "Where are you sitting?" "Table 1. "With Gabriel." "Obviously." "Who is at table 1? Our parents, his supervisor, and Professor Mercer. Then why am I at table 9? She blinked. "You said our parents are at table 1. I mean both sets." "My name is at table 9. She pulled the page closer. "That must be an old version. The date at the top is yesterday." Caitlin looked at Gabriel. He took the sheet. "Yeah, this has to be wrong." "Who made it?" I asked. "Caitlin has a seating program. I asked who made this arrangement." "I did," she said, "but your placement isn't final. Who is in my seat at table 1? She reached for the paper. Gabriel held it down. "Caitlin. It's a working draft." "Who?" She pressed her lips together. "My regional director." Gabriel stared at her. "You put my mother in the back? It's not the back. The room is intimate." "Then your regional director can enjoy table 9. Caitlin's face changed. "He and his wife are important. So is my mother." I looked at Gabriel. He didn't look at me. He kept his eyes on the paper. It was the first time he had corrected her without my asking. The relief came so quickly that I disliked myself for it. Caitlin collected both pages. "Fine. Ruth can sit at table 1. "Thank you," I said. "You don't need to thank her," Gabriel muttered. "No," Caitlin said. "Apparently nobody needs to thank anybody." I stood and picked up the empty serving dish. "Would anyone like coffee?" Gabriel said yes. Caitlin said no. While I filled the kettle, I heard them whispering. "This is exactly what I was worried about," Caitlin said. She saw the chart. "You didn't have to make it a thing." It was already a thing. I took 3 cups from the cabinet even though Caitlin had declined. My hands needed the extra task. When I returned, they stopped talking. Gabriel carried the plates to the sink after dinner. Caitlin stood by the balcony door checking her phone. "The venue has a rooftop, doesn't it?" she asked. "I saw a staircase," I said. "It has a private suite with a terrace." I didn't tour that part. "We did." Gabriel turned from the sink. "Caitlin?" "What?" "It's beautiful." "Is it included?" I asked. "No," she said. "It's a separate space." "Then why are we discussing it?" She put down her phone. "A few people may want to continue after the ballroom closes. The dinner ends at 11. That's early for some of our friends. It is not early for me. You wouldn't have to stay." I dried my hands on a towel. "Are you asking me to pay for another party?" "We don't know the price yet." Gabriel said, "We're not doing that." Caitlin gave him a tired look. "We're considering options. You told me it was too much. I said we should ask." He looked at me. "Mom, forget it. The dinner is enough." "Yes," I said, "it is." Caitlin picked up her handbag. "We should go." Gabriel glanced toward the containers on my counter. I had packed the leftovers before they arrived. One container held enough for my lunch. There was no second one waiting for him. He noticed. I waited to see whether he would ask. He didn't. At the door, he hugged me. "Thanks for dinner." "You're welcome." Caitlin had already stepped into the hallway. "I'll fix the seating chart," he said quietly. "I'll believe the next one." He nodded. They left, and I cleared the table. The next morning, an email arrived from Sydney. The subject line said, "Rooftop suite change order." I opened it at my desk. Sydney had written 3 sentences. No form was attached. I read the message again. Caitlin had said they didn't know the price. She had spoken as though the rooftop was only an idea. She had already asked for it. I called Sydney. Did Caitlin reserve the rooftop? She requested a proposal. Did she tell you I approved it? There was a short pause. She said the charge would be placed with the main event. That isn't what I asked. No. She didn't say you had signed. Why did you say you were following up? I gave her the change order during Friday's planning visit. She said you would handle the signature. Was Gabriel there? Yes. I looked at the Sunday seating chart still lying near my telephone. Did he hear that? He was with us when we toured the suite. That confirmed more than I wanted. They had discussed the rooftop together. Gabriel had told me to forget it after he had already stood inside the room. "How much is it?" I asked. $7,600. I sat back. What does that include? The private rooftop suite from 11 until 1. Drinks, late food, staff, and security. For how many people? 40. Who chose the food? Caitlin. And who chose the drinks? She did. I pressed my finger against the edge of the desk. Why wasn't the form attached? The original is still in my event binder. Caitlin said you preferred paper documents. That part was true. Caitlin knew it. Did she ask you for any other changes? Sydney hesitated. She requested revised host materials. What does that mean? She asked that the entrance placard be removed. I stopped moving. What reason did she give? She said you preferred not to be singled out. The room became very quiet. Donald's photograph stood on the bookcase. Beside it was an empty space where the cuff-link box had been. What about the printed program? I asked. She removed the hosted by line from the draft. Did Gabriel hear that request? I can't say. He stepped out for a phone call during part of the meeting. That was useful, but incomplete. He had heard about the rooftop. I didn't know whether he knew about the placard. Have you removed it? I asked. It's still in the staging cabinet. I haven't finalized the entry setup. I'd like to see the current event file. Certainly. When? I'm here until 6 today. I'll come at 4. I dressed more carefully than necessary. A navy blouse, gray trousers, low shoes. I put the executed agreement and paid invoice into the blue folio. Then I drove to North Main Street. Sydney met me in the entrance hall. She carried the same black binder. Would you like coffee? No, thank you. We sat in a small planning room near the ballroom. She opened the binder and turned it toward me. The rooftop change order was clipped behind the base agreement. $7,600 appeared at the bottom. Beneath it was one signature line. Ruth Steele, account holder. It was blank. Sydney pointed to the requested start time. The suite can't open without that signature. Could Caitlin sign my name? No. Could Gabrielle? No. What happens if nobody signs? The suite remains closed. Your base dinner continues exactly as contracted. There was the line I needed. The graduation dinner was fully paid. Refusing the addition wouldn't take away Gabriel's celebration. It would only stop a new charge I had never agreed to cover. Has anyone been invited upstairs? I asked. I don't know. Caitlin said she expected about 40. Did she say who? People from their professional circle. The same people replacing family at the tables. I turned to the host materials. The revised program draft didn't name me. A note beside the entrance setup said, "Remove host placard at client request." Which client? I asked. Sydney looked uncomfortable. Caitlin, I am the client on the agreement. Yes. Then correct the note. She drew one line through client and wrote Caitlin. That tiny correction mattered. It didn't restore the placard. It did preserve who had asked to remove it. I'd like copies of these pages. I can send them. Please do. What would you like me to tell Caitlin about the rooftop? Nothing yet. Sydney waited. She told you I would handle the signature, I said. I am handling it. Do you want to decline the suite? I'm not authorizing it. I can mark it declined. Leave it pending. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. The deadline is noon on the day of the event. After that, we release the staff. I close the binder. Until I sign, nothing is added? Correct. Even if they have told people otherwise? Correct. That was the deliberate move, though it didn't feel dramatic. I left one line empty. Sydney walked me to the staging cabinet. The brass placard rested on the middle shelf. My name was still beneath the clear cover. I took a photograph of it with my phone. Then I drove home. Her email arrived before 5. It included the unsigned change order, revised program, seating notes, and the instruction about the placard. I printed everything. For the first time, I wasn't trying to fix Caitlin's choices before Gabriel had to see them. I needed to know which parts he would correct on his own. I placed the unsigned rooftop change order behind the paid invoice. In my notebook, I wrote the signing deadline. Then I added one sentence beneath it. Do not remind them. The following Sunday, Gabriel texted at 4:10. Caitlin isn't feeling well. Is it okay if I come alone? I read the message while tying my apron. Of course. He arrived at 4:58. That was early for him. He carried a bakery box and a manila envelope. I brought lemon cake. I made apple crisp. We can eat both. He set the envelope near my place. What's that? The new seating chart. I opened it before we ate. My name was at table 1. Aunt Helen was at table 4. The other names had not changed. You fixed 2 seats, I said. I said I would. You fixed 1 seat. Mine should never have needed fixing. He pulled out his chair. Can we count this as progress? We can count it as accurate. I placed the chart inside the blue folio. Gabriel looked at the folio, then at me. Why are you keeping everything? Because the details keep changing. It's a party, Mom, yes. That's why I didn't expect this much paperwork. He started to say something. Then he stopped. We ate chicken again. I had considered making something different, but Donald used to say people who missed 1 chicken didn't earn a roast. Gabriel took a second helping. This tastes better than last week. It is exactly the same. Maybe I was hungrier. Maybe you ate it from a plate. He smiled. The evening almost became ordinary. He told me about his final presentation. One member of his group had changed several slides at the last minute. Gabriel caught an error in the numbers before their professor saw it. Did the other person thank you? I asked. He said nobody would have noticed. You noticed. That's what I told him. I looked at my son. So you do understand that accuracy matters. His fork paused. Are we talking about my class or the party? We were talking about your class, but now we're not. I took a sip of water. Did you know Caitlin asked Sydney to remove my placard? His face answered before he did. He put down his fork. How did you hear about that? The venue contacted me. About the placard? About changes. He glanced toward the blue folio. What changes? I let the question sit there. He knew there were several possibilities. That told me enough. I asked about the host materials, I said. Mom, it's just a sign, then why remove it? Caitlin thought it looked formal. It's a formal dinner. She thought it looked like advertising. What would it advertise? He rubbed the side of his thumb. Who paid? The placard doesn't mention money. People understand what hosted means. Yes, they do. He pushed his chair back slightly. Caitlin feels awkward about it. Why? Because it can look like we couldn't do this ourselves. You couldn't. His eyes came up. I'm not insulting you. You told me you couldn't afford it. I know what I told you. Then what is awkward? It's my graduation. I worked for it. No one said otherwise. But if everyone walks in and sees your name first, it changes the feeling. For whom? For me. That answer was honest. I folded my hands on the table. You wanted a celebration you couldn't afford. You asked me for it. Now you want it to appear without me. That's not what I said. You said my name changes the feeling. It does. Does my presence change it? No. Only my role? He looked away. I waited. I just don't want to spend the whole night explaining our finances, he said. Who asked you to? People talk. Then let them talk accurately. He shook his head. You don't understand the people who are coming. You selected them. Caitlin selected most of them, and you approved them. He stood and carried his plate to the sink. I knew this would turn into a whole thing. I remained seated. When did you know about the placard? He ran water over his plate. She told me after the planning visit. Before you came here last Sunday? Yes. You stood in this kitchen and said nothing. I didn't think it mattered. You knew she told Sydney I requested the removal. He turned off the water. I didn't know she said that part. So what did you think she said? That we didn't want it. We. He leaned against the counter. Can you please overlook this? There it was. Not a misunderstanding. Not an old draft. A request. What exactly should I overlook? The sign. The program wording. The seating confusion. That is 3 things. All right, 3 things. And the missing relatives? He closed his eyes. Mom, I want to understand the size of what I'm overlooking. You'll be there. You'll sit with us. You can give a toast. Aunt Helen is invited. After I insisted. Yes. After you insisted. His voice rose. He noticed and lowered it. I have worked for 2 years. I did classes after work. I gave up weekends. I barely slept during exams. I want one evening where I don't have to manage conflict between you and my wife. I got up and took my plate to the sink. I am not asking you to manage conflict. You're asking me to confront her. I'm asking you to say your mother didn't request her own erasure. He looked at me. That word is dramatic. Then choose a smaller one. He didn't. I dried my hands. What does Caitlin want people to believe? That we planned the celebration. You did plan it. And that we're hosting. I nodded. There was the inconsistency in plain language. They wanted credit for arranging what I had purchased. Gabriel knew. He wanted my cooperation because correcting Caitlin would make his evening harder. I won't demand that you put my name on the invitation, I said. They're already printed. I know. I can ask about the programs. I'm not asking. His shoulders relaxed. I continued. But you will correct one thing. His expression tightened again. What? You will tell Sydney I never requested that placard's removal. Why does that matter if you're not asking to display it? Because your wife used my preference to support hers. Can't you just tell Sydney? I could. You're the person asking me to overlook it. He stared at me. What do you want me to write? The truth. He pulled out his phone. Now? Yes. He sat down again. I watched him open his email. This feels ridiculous. Then it should be easy. He typed with both thumbs. After a moment, he held up the screen. I wrote, Sydney, just clarifying that my mother didn't ask for the host placard to be removed. Caitlin and I discussed changing the entry display. Thanks, Gabriel. Send it. He hesitated. I saw the hesitation. So did he. Then he pressed the screen. Done. The email made a quiet sound as it left. That was the first deliberate correction Gabriel made. I had to place the words in front of him, but he sent them under his own name. Thank you, I said. Are we okay now? No. His face fell. I'm not trying to punish you. One honest email doesn't settle everything. What else do you want? I want to stop guessing when you know something. I don't know what that means. It means if Caitlin changes my role, you tell me. You already know about the sign, because I checked. He glanced at the blue folio again. What did Sydney send you? The event file. All of it? The parts involving my agreement. He rubbed his forehead. Caitlin's gonna feel like you went around her. I went to the business holding my money, she's handling the details. Then she should handle them truthfully. He walked to the entryway and picked up his jacket. You're leaving before dessert? I'm not hungry anymore. You brought cake. You can keep it. I followed him to the door. Gabriel. He looked at me. I'm proud of your degree. I know. Do you? His hand rested on the doorknob. Yes. Then don't make me prove it by accepting everything around it. He looked tired. I wish Dad were here. The words landed hard because I had wished the same thing every day. What would he do? I asked. Gabriel looked toward Donald's photograph. He'd keep everybody calm. No, he would make a joke first. Then he'd ask why you were hiding the bill. A small smile appeared and disappeared. I'll call you later. Take the apple crisp. He almost refused. Then he followed me to the kitchen. I packed 2 portions, one for him and one for Caitlin. I caught myself doing it and nearly put the second portion back. Instead, I sealed the container. Changing a habit didn't require becoming petty. At the door, he hugged me. This time, he held on a little longer. An hour later, Sydney replied to his email and copied all 3 of us. I read it twice. My deliberate action had worked. The false explanation was corrected. Nobody could tell Sydney that I wanted my name removed. Then Caitlin replied to everyone. This is unnecessary. As Gabriel's wife and event planner, I am capable of managing visual details. Ruth's involvement was intended as a gift, not control over presentation. Sydney didn't respond. Neither did I. Gabriel called 5 minutes later. You saw her email? Yes, she's upset, I gathered that. She thinks Sydney embarrassed her. Sydney repeated what you wrote. I know. I'm not saying she did anything wrong. What are you saying? I'm asking you not to reply. I wasn't planning to. Good. He sounded relieved. Then he added, maybe don't call the venue again unless something serious happens. I looked at my paid invoice. Who decides what is serious? Mom, I'm trying to keep this from getting worse. You corrected one false statement. Why would truth make things worse? For Caitlin, it feels like you're watching her. I am reviewing changes to my agreement. She doesn't see the difference. Do you? He went silent. I have to go, he said. After we hung up, I ate 1 spoonful of apple crisp standing beside the counter. The corrected email gave me what I had asked for. It also showed me how quickly Gabriel wanted the correction buried. The next day, a thick cream envelope arrived in my mailbox. My invitation. There was no handwritten note. My address had been printed in matching green ink. I opened it at my kitchen table. The card looked exactly like the sample. It invited me to join Gabriel and Caitlin for dinner and dancing. I was being invited to the event on my own contract. I put the card in the blue folio. That evening, Aunt Helen called. I got the prettiest invitation, she said. I'm glad they had room for me. They made room. I was surprised. Gabriel told me the list was mostly business people. When did he tell you that? Last month. I asked whether there would be a party. He said Caitlin was keeping it small. Last month was before he asked me to pay. What else did he say? Only that they weren't sure they could afford much. I looked at the invoice. They had been preparing family to expect exclusion before my check changed what they could afford. I'm glad you're coming, I said. So am I. I haven't seen you dressed up in ages. After we ended the call, I opened my phone. Caitlin had posted a photograph of the sealed invitations arranged around Gabriel's graduation cap. Her caption said, "After months of planning, we're almost ready to host the people who helped make this possible." Several guests had commented, "You two think of everything. What generous hosts. Can't wait to celebrate with you." Gabriel had liked every comment. I took screenshots and placed my phone beside the blue folio. The private version had reached its limit. Now their version of the party was moving through a room I couldn't enter by calling my son. For the first time, I had to decide whether correcting the record before the dinner would protect my dignity or simply give them time to hide the rest. I didn't correct the post. I didn't comment beneath it. I didn't call Aunt Helen back. I didn't send the paid invoice to anyone. At 8 the next morning, Caitlin called me. Her voice was already unsteady. "Are you trying to make me look dishonest?" I was spreading butter on toast. "Good morning, Caitlin. Did you show Sydney private emails?" Sydney sent me the event file. That isn't what I asked. I showed her nothing she didn't already have. Caitlin took a sharp breath. "Gabriel said you made him send that correction. I asked him to tell the truth. You cornered him. He was sitting at my dinner table. You know what I mean." I put down the knife. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stop going behind my back. I am the name on the agreement. You promised this as a gift. I paid for a dinner. I didn't promise to pretend you paid." Her breathing changed. Then she began to cry. Not loudly. I could hear her trying to control it. "I have done everything," she said. "Every email, every menu decision, every name card. You wrote a check and now you're treating me like I stole something." "I haven't said that. You don't have to." "What did you tell Sydney about the placard?" She sniffed. "I told her it didn't fit the presentation. You told her I wanted it removed. I was trying to avoid an argument." "With whom?" "You." "You avoided an argument by speaking as me. That sounds worse than it was. It was one sentence. You could have used your own name." She went quiet. Then she said, "I can come over." "For what?" "The program proof. Sydney won't release it until you confirm the presentation details. She didn't say that. She said changes involving your agreement had to go through you. That is not the same thing. Can I come or not?" I looked at the clock. "When?" 10. "I'll be here." She arrived at 10:20 carrying a flat cardboard envelope. Her eyes were dry. She wore a cream sweater and dark trousers. She looked prepared for a meeting. I led her to the kitchen table. "Coffee?" I asked. "No, thank you." I poured myself a cup. She removed several printed sheets from the envelope. "This is the final program. If we send it today, we avoid a rush fee." I picked it up. The cover said, "Hosted by Gabriel and Caitlin Steele." I looked at her. She folded her hands. "You planned it," I said. "Yes, you are welcoming the guests. Yes, you did not pay Hearthstone House." Her mouth tightened. "Guests don't need a financial statement on the program. Then remove the host line. We are the hosts. You are the organizers. That distinction matters only to you. It mattered enough for you to print." She leaned back. "What do you want it to say?" "Celebrating Gabriel Steele." "That's it? That is the purpose of the evening. It looks bare. Then add the date." She tapped one fingernail against the table. "I can't keep changing everything, because one word bothers you. One word bothered you enough to remove my placard. That was different." "How?" "The placard put the focus on you, and this puts it on you. It puts it on us." I took a drink of coffee. "Use the neutral wording. What if I don't? Then don't ask me to confirm it." Her eyes moved toward my desk. The blue folio sat beside my notebook. "You're keeping a file on me. I'm keeping an event file. That notebook has my name in it. It has several names. Why?" "Because conversations keep becoming misunderstandings." Her cheeks colored. "Are you planning to show people?" "I'm planning to remember accurately. This is a family party. That has been my point." She gathered the papers, then stopped. "If I change the cover, will you stop contacting Sydney?" "No." "Ruth, I won't interfere with tablecloths or flowers. Anything touching my agreement comes to me. You don't trust me. I trusted you to handle the guest list. That again. It hasn't stopped being true. She pushed the program toward me. Look through the rest. The second page showed the schedule. Cocktails, dinner, remarks, photographs, dessert. At the bottom, in smaller print, there was another line. I read it twice. Who receives this program, I asked. Everyone at dinner, so everyone will see there's another event afterward. Who is invited upstairs? People closer to our age. I'm not asking why I'm excluded. I didn't say you were. You said people closer to your age. You wouldn't enjoy it. What makes you think enjoyment is the issue? She pressed her lips together. I continued. How many people have you invited? About 40. Have they accepted? Most of them. You invited them before the suite was confirmed? Her eyes shifted. Sydney prepared it. That wasn't my question. We had to give people notice. Did you tell them it was confirmed? I said it was planned. With whom? Ruth, please don't do this. Did Gabriel help choose the rooftop guests? Yes. How many? I don't know. 10 or 12. When did you invite them? Last week, before the Sunday dinner, before Gabriel told me to forget the idea. Did Gabriel know the cost? He knew the general amount. Did he see the change order? He was standing there. Did he read it? You would have to ask him. That was useful. It didn't tell me whether Gabriel understood the signature requirement. It confirmed he had watched an additional expense move toward my account and had chosen guests for it. Why didn't either of you ask me? I said. Caitlin looked genuinely confused. We did. No, you told Sydney to prepare a form. She sent it to you. After you invited people. We didn't think it would be a problem. Why? Because you had already agreed to the party. The dinner. The rooftop is part of the same night. It is a different room, different food, and another charge. She stared at me. Did you sign it? I held her gaze. Did you change the program cover? That's not the same thing. It's the thing you came to discuss. She reached for the proof. I'll change it. She opened her laptop at my table and sent an email. I watched her type. Revised cover line, celebrating Gabriel Steele. Copy me. She looked at me. You don't believe I sent it? I want the final proof. She added my address and pressed send. A minute later, the printer replied to both of us. Revision received. That was the practical result I wanted. The printed program would not falsely identify them as hosts. It was small, but it was public paper. People would hold it in their hands. Caitlin closed her laptop. Are you satisfied? With that line, yes. And the rooftop? What about it? You didn't answer me. You didn't ask before inviting 40 people, because I thought this was something you wanted to do for Gabriel. I already did something for Gabriel. She looked toward the folio again. You're going to cancel it. I cannot cancel something I never approved. Her face went still. That sentence came close to telling her too much. I could see her working through it. Sydney said the paperwork was with you. It is. So you haven't decided? I've decided the program cover. She stood. This is cruel. What is? Making me wonder. You created an expectation before you had an answer. We've already told people. I know that now. They're important to Gabriel. Then Gabriel should have spoken to me. He hates asking you for money. He asked for the dinner. That was different. How? He really needed that. And he doesn't need the rooftop? She didn't answer. I walked her to the door. Before she stepped into the hall, she turned around. Just so you know, if the rooftop falls apart, everyone will assume I failed to arrange it. You could tell them it wasn't confirmed. That would look incompetent. It would be accurate. Her eyes filled again. You don't care what this does to me. I care enough not to answer while you're crying. She wiped beneath one eye. What does that mean? It means go home. We'll speak when you're calmer. You sound like you're enjoying this. No. I'm eating cold toast because you arrived with a deadline. She left without saying goodbye. At noon, the revised program proof arrived. The cover now said, Celebrating Gabriel Steele. My name wasn't there. Neither was Caitlin's. I replied only to the printer. Cover approved. I am not confirming any services through this email. I copied Sydney. Caitlin noticed immediately. She called Gabriel. I knew because he called me 3 minutes later. What happened? Your wife brought the program. She says you threatened the rooftop. I asked why 40 people were invited before it was approved. They had to plan, so did I. Mom, is there a problem with the paperwork? What do you know about the paperwork? It's an extra charge. How much? About $7,000. $7,600. All right. Did you read the form? No. Caitlin was handling it. Why did you choose guests for a room you hadn't paid for? He went quiet. Mom, I thought you knew. How would I know? Sydney was sending it to you. After the choices were made, I guess. You told me to forget the rooftop. I meant you didn't need to worry about planning it. That isn't what you said. I didn't want another argument. You wanted the room. Yes. Did you want me there? He took too long. It's more of a late-night crowd. That is Caitlin's answer. It's also true. I looked at the corrected program on my screen. You asked me to celebrate your achievement. I thought that meant standing beside you. You will stand beside me. Until 11. Mom, please don't turn this into being excluded. What should I call it? A separate group. Selected from the dinner I paid for. He sighed. What do you want me to do? I wanted you to ask before inviting people. It's too late for that. Yes. So what do we do now? There was more fear in his voice than apology. I understood why. 40 people expected an additional party. Caitlin had placed his name beside hers. If the suite stayed closed, the failure would be visible. I'm not discussing an added charge over the phone, I said. Can we come over tonight? No. Tomorrow? No. Then when? When you can speak to me without treating those invitations as my emergency. That's not what I'm doing. It's exactly what you're doing. He lowered his voice. Mom, people from my company are coming. Then you should have waited for confirmation. We thought we had it. From whom? He had no answer. After the call, I opened the unsigned change order. The signature line was still blank. The deadline remained noon on the event day. Now the blank line carried 40 expectations, my son's professional embarrassment and Caitlin's anger. I had wanted to learn what Gabriel would do when my usefulness and my place pulled in different directions. The answer was beginning to cost more than money. 2 days later, the final program arrived by email. My toast was gone. Caitlin still welcomed the guests. Gabriel's supervisor still spoke. His professor still spoke. Gabriel still gave closing remarks. The 2 minutes he had offered me had disappeared. I called him during his lunch break. Did you see the final program? I saw it last night. Did you notice I'm not speaking? He was quiet. Yes. Why? Caitlin thought we needed to shorten the remarks. Mine were already the shortest. I know. Did you agree? I didn't argue. I stood beside my desk. That is becoming an important difference to you. What is? Agreeing without speaking. He breathed out. Mom, after everything with the venue, Caitlin doesn't think handing you a microphone is a good idea. What does she think I'll say? I don't know. You must have discussed it. She's worried you'll mention paying. Was I planning to? I don't know. You never asked. Would you? I plan to congratulate my son, that's all. I looked at Donald's photograph. I had written down a few words about your father. Gabriel went silent. What words? That he would be proud of your persistence. Oh, I wasn't planning to discuss an invoice. I didn't think you were. You allowed her to remove me because she thought I might. I'm trying to keep the evening comfortable. For whom? Everyone. Again, everyone had a very narrow meaning. Put me back on the program, I said. I can ask. No, decide. Mom, I'm at work. You made the decision last night. I didn't make it. You saw it and stayed quiet. He lowered his voice. Can we talk tonight? Yes, come here. With Caitlin, if she wants. They arrived at 7. I hadn't offered dinner. That felt unnatural enough that I made tea to keep my hands occupied. Gabriel sat at the kitchen table. Caitlin remained standing until I asked whether she wanted a chair. "I'm fine," she said. "Then I'll sit." I placed my mug in front of me. Gabriel looked between us. "We need to calm this down." Caitlin folded her arms. I was calm until my work was questioned. "You changed the program," I said. "I adjusted it. You removed the part where I spoke. Because there is tension now. There wasn't tension when I was asked to pay." Gabriel rubbed both palms over his knees. "Can we not start with that? What should we start with? The party is in less than 3 weeks. We need a plan. There is a plan." Sydney has one in a black binder. Caitlin looked toward my desk. "And Ruth has another one in blue." "Yes," she laughed once. "At least we're being honest. I've been asking for that." Gabriel leaned forward. "Mom, what do you need to feel okay about the party?" The wording caught me. Not what was fair, not what needed correction. What would make me feel okay? "I need you to stop treating facts as my feelings." "I'm not. You moved me to a back table. That was a fact. You removed family. That was a fact. Caitlin told the venue I didn't want my name displayed. That was a fact." "We fixed the table," he said. "After I found it. Aunt Helen is invited. After I insisted." Caitlin finally sat. "What would be enough, Ruth?" I turned to her. "Why was my toast removed?" I told Gabriel. "I'm asking you." She crossed one leg over the other. "I don't know what you intend to say." "You could have asked." "I didn't think I would get a straight answer." "Try." She looked directly at me. "What would you say if you had the microphone?" I would congratulate Gabriel. I would say his father would have been proud. Then I would sit down. "You wouldn't mention who paid?" "No." "You wouldn't correct the program? It no longer identifies you as host." Her jaw tightened. "You wouldn't make a comment about the guest list?" "No." "Or the rooftop?" "No." Gabriel looked relieved. "Then we can put her back." Caitlin didn't look at him. "If the rooftop is settled." There it was. Gabriel turned toward her. "Caitlin." "What?" "We can't pretend everything is normal while she holds that over us." "I'm not holding anything," I said. "You brought an expense to me after making promises. You keep avoiding the question." "So do you." She leaned toward the table. "Are you approving it?" "I'm not discussing $7,600 as the price of speaking at my son's party." "That is not what I said." It followed quickly enough. Gabriel looked at me. "Nobody is buying your speech. Then restore it without a condition." Caitlin stood again. "I'm not comfortable with that." "Why?" "Because you're angry. I'm disappointed. That's worse." "For whom?" She looked at Gabriel. "I told you this would happen." He closed his eyes briefly. "Can you give us a minute?" "You are sitting in my kitchen," I said. "There is nowhere I need to go." Caitlin picked up her handbag. "I'll wait downstairs." She walked out and closed the door harder than necessary. Gabriel remained at the table. I took a sip of tea. It had gone lukewarm. "Do you think she's right?" I asked. "About what?" "That I'd embarrass you." "No." "Then put me back." He stared at his hands. "I can't keep fighting with her. You haven't started. You don't know what it's like at home." "No." "You stopped telling me. She spent months planning this, and I spent one morning paying for it." He flinched. "I know. Do you?" "Yes, Mom, I know the amount. I know you signed the contract. I know we couldn't do it without you. Who else knows?" "What do you mean? Who attending that dinner knows I am the host?" He looked at the floor. "Family knows. Aunt Helen thinks you kept the party small. I didn't tell her you paid." "Your coworkers?" "No. Caitlin's office." "No. Her parents?" His pause was enough. "What did you tell them?" I asked. "They know you helped." "Helped with what?" "The party." "How much help? Why does that matter?" "Because you are asking me to disappear inside a word." He stood and walked to the window. "We told them we were arranging it. That part is true. And that you offered to contribute. I contributed the entire contracted dinner." "I know. But you didn't say that." "No." "Why?" He turned around. "Because I'm 33 years old. I finished an MBA. I don't want everyone thinking my mother still pays for my life. I held the mug with both hands. There it is. I'm not ashamed of you. You're ashamed of needing me. He looked away. That's different. It becomes the same thing when you hide me with the need. I'm not hiding you. Then why can't I speak for 2 minutes? Because Caitlin thinks you're going to expose us. For accepting a gift? For making it look like we took credit? I waited. He heard himself. His shoulders dropped. So she knows that's what she did, I said. She doesn't see it that way. You just told me what she fears. He walked back to the table. Please overlook it, just until the party is over. And afterward? We can talk afterward about what happened before. Yes. I almost laughed. He wanted me to delay the truth until it could no longer affect the appearance they had purchased with my money. Then he reached into his jacket pocket. He placed a soft cloth bundle on the table. Donald's cufflinks. I think you should keep these. I didn't touch them. Why? Everything feels connected now. I told you they weren't. I know, but they do. To you or to Caitlin. That's not fair. Did she ask you to return them? No. He answered too quickly. Did she suggest it? He looked toward the door. She said wearing them might make things more emotional. They belonged to your father. I know. He wore them to your wedding. I know. I unwrapped one corner of the cloth. The silver caught the kitchen light. Do you want to wear them? Yes. Then take them. I don't think I should. Why? Because you're hurt. My feelings do not change who your father was. He pushed the bundle toward me. I can't deal with this right now. His hand left the table. I looked at the cufflinks between us. The party had now reached into something that had nothing to do with money. Gabriel had brought his father's cufflinks back because keeping Caitlin calm mattered more than carrying them. That was the cost, not the speech, not the missing name. Those things could be printed again. He'd taken a piece of his father from my house and returned it when I became inconvenient. I folded the cloth carefully. All right, I said. He looked surprised. You're not going to argue? No. Mom, you made your choice. That sounds final. It is final about the cufflinks. He sat down again. I don't want this to ruin everything. Then stop asking me to absorb all the damage. I'm asking for 3 weeks. No, you're asking me to behave as though these 3 weeks didn't happen. He looked toward the clock. Caitlin is waiting. Yes. He moved toward the door. Will you still come to the party? The question told me the true scale of it. My attendance had become uncertain in his mind, not because I had threatened to stay home, because he believed my place depended on how much discomfort I accepted. Yes, I said. I will attend the dinner I promised you. And the rooftop? I have not discussed the form with you. Are you going to? Not tonight. He opened the door. Please don't surprise us. I looked at him. You have had every fact needed to avoid a surprise. He left. I locked the door and returned to the table. The cufflinks rested beside my cold tea. Until then, I had been trying to recover my place. A seat at table 1, 2 minutes at the microphone, my name near the entrance. Those things no longer meant what I thought they meant. A place granted after pressure could be moved again. A speech offered in exchange for money wasn't respect. I stopped asking whether they would include me. I needed to know whether Gabriel would acknowledge me when doing so cost him something. The next morning, I emailed Sydney. The paid dinner remains unchanged. Please proceed with all contracted food, staffing, and ballroom service. I didn't mention the rooftop. Then I took my planned toast from the blue folio. I folded it once and placed it inside the wooden cufflink box. I would attend without a scheduled speech. I would not argue for another seat, another line, or another printed courtesy. I chose my dark green dress and hung it on the bedroom door. From then on, the next move belonged to Gabriel. On Thursday, Sydney sent a final planning checklist. The guest count was due by Monday at noon. The ballroom schedule had to be locked the same day. Meal changes after that would cost extra. She also requested a final walkthrough with the contracting host. I accepted the Friday afternoon appointment. I copied Gabriel and Caitlin. Neither replied. Before I left home on Friday, I opened the original guest list. Then I opened the latest one. 2 names on Caitlin's list were marked declined. Both seats were still empty. My cousins remained absent. I printed both lists and placed them in the blue folio. At Hearthstone House, Sydney met me beside the ballroom doors. "We're waiting for Gabriel and Caitlin," she said. "Did they confirm?" Caitlin said they would try. That phrase had traveled. "Let's begin." Sydney opened the doors. The room looked different with the tables fully dressed. Cream cloths reached the floor. Dark green napkins sat on the plates. Small glass vases stood in the center of each table. "It's lovely," I said. "The flowers will be added that morning." She walked me through the schedule. Staff would begin setting up at 2, guests arrived at 6, dinner started at 7. Dessert and coffee came at 8:30. "The ballroom service still ends at 11, she said. Yes. She did not mention the rooftop. I appreciated that. At table 1, small paper cards marked each place. Mine sat between Gabriel's and his professor's. I touched the card. Not because I needed to admire it. I wanted to confirm it existed. "Do these remain in this order?" Sydney asked. "Yes. We moved to table 4. Aunt Helen's place card was there." "Thank you," I said. Sydney checked her list. "Your final count is currently 78. 2 guests declined?" "Yes." "Caitlin emailed yesterday. Did she replace them?" "Not yet." I opened the blue folio. My original list included 2 cousins. They were removed before invitations went out. Sydney looked at the pages. "Would you like to use the open seats?" "Yes." "Do you have their meal choices?" "I can get them today. I'll need confirmation before Monday. You'll have it." She wrote the names. The practical part was simple. 2 paid chairs were empty. 2 relatives had been excluded. No extra table was required. No added charge appeared. I called my cousins from the planning room. The first answered immediately. "I hope I'm not calling at a bad time," I said. "Never. Is everything all right?" "Yes. I'm calling about Gabriel's graduation dinner." There was a pause. "Oh, we didn't think we were included. You weren't on the final invitation list. That's what we assumed. I have 2 seats available. I would like you both there." She sounded cautious. "Does Gabriel know?" "He knows you were on his original list. That's not quite what I asked." I looked toward the ballroom. "I am inviting you." Another pause. Then she said, "If you truly want us there, we'll come." "I do." She gave me their meal choices. I wrote them beside their names. Before we ended the call, she asked, "Ruth, did we do something?" "No." Caitlin stopped answering after I asked about the date. "When?" "A few weeks ago, before the invitations were printed." "What did she say?" "She said it would probably be a professional event." I told her we understood. "Did she say there wasn't room?" "She said numbers were limited." I looked at the 78 beside Sydney's notes. "Thank you for telling me. Are you sure this won't cause trouble?" "The seats are paid for and open." That wasn't quite what I asked either. I smiled despite myself. "Come for me. We will." That was the direct invitation I should have given from the start. I had handed the family names to Caitlin because she said she would make things easy. I had mistaken control for assistance. When I ended the call, Sydney entered the 2 meal choices. "I'll ask our printer to prepare their place cards," she said. "Please send the final guest list to everyone." Everyone meaning Gabriel, Caitlin, and me? Of course. We continued through the room. The neutral program proof rested on the lectern. I picked it up. "Celebrating Gabriel Steele." Nothing on the cover claimed a false host. Nothing named the real one either. I could live with neutral paper. Sydney showed me the entrance table. A basket would hold cards. Programs would be stacked beside it. The brass placard remained inside the staging cabinet. "Has Caitlin sent another instruction about it?" I asked. "No." "Has Gabriel?" "No. Leave the file as it is." Sydney nodded. We checked the menu counts. We checked the microphone. We confirmed that the ballroom staff and dinner remained fully funded. The work took less than an hour. For weeks, the party had felt like a shifting argument. Inside the ballroom, it became chairs, plates, times, and names. Physical things could be checked. I signed the final base event count. Sydney placed the page in her binder. The rooftop change order sat several sections behind it. She didn't bring it out. As we returned to the entrance hall, the front door opened. Caitlin came in first. Gabriel followed. "We're sorry," he said. "Traffic." They had driven from the same part of town I had. "We finished the walkthrough," I said. Caitlin looked at Sydney. "Without us?" "The contracting host was here," Sydney replied. Caitlin's eyes moved to my folio. "What did you change?" "The final count." "What does that mean?" "2 of your guests declined," I said. "I used the seats." "For whom?" "My cousins." Her face tightened. "You can't add people without discussing it. The seats were open. That isn't the point." "What is the point?" "It's our guest list." Sydney stepped back slightly. She had no reason to stand inside a family dispute. Gabriel looked at the final list in her hands. "Which cousins?" I told him. He nodded. "They were on my first list." Caitlin turned toward him. "That list wasn't final." "No, but they were on it. We agreed this wasn't a reunion." "It is 2 people," I said. "It's 2 people now. What does that mean?" She gestured toward the ballroom. "You met with the venue alone. You changed names. You're making decisions." "I completed the work due Monday. We had time. You didn't confirm this appointment. We said we would try, and you did. You arrived after the work was done." Her face colored. Gabriel stepped between us without quite facing either side. "Can we look at the final list?" Sydney handed it to him. He checked table 4. "This is fine." Caitlin stared at him. "You don't know that." "I know them." "So do I." "Then why did you tell them it was professional?" Her head turned toward me. "They told you that?" "I called them. You discussed me with them. I invited them." "What else did you say?" "That I wanted them there." "Did you tell them you paid?" "No." She looked almost disappointed. Gabriel ran his finger down the page. "Who declined?" Caitlin named a couple from her office. "Then we still have 78, he said. "It's not costing anything." "That isn't why I'm upset." He handed the list back to Sydney. "What else is left?" "The base event is finalized," Sydney said. "I have all approvals needed for the ballroom dinner." Caitlin looked at her. "And upstairs?" Sydney's expression stayed professional. "The rooftop suite has a separate pending change order." "Right," Caitlin said. "Ruth is handling that." "Yes." Gabriel looked at me. I closed the blue folio. "The ballroom is handled." Caitlin's mouth tightened. "Can we see the rooftop again?" "Certainly," Sydney said. She led us toward the staircase. I followed because I hadn't toured it before. The suite was smaller than I expected. Tall glass doors opened onto a narrow terrace. There was a bar along one wall and low furniture around the room. Caitlin walked to the center. "We plan standing tables here." Sydney nodded. "And the food stations go near the bar," Caitlin continued. "Yes, if the order proceeds." Gabriel stepped onto the terrace. "You can see downtown. I joined him near the door. It's nice." He looked at me. "It would mean a lot. To whom?" He glanced toward Caitlin. "To both of us." "What would it mean?" "A chance to spend time with people without the formal dinner. You selected 40 people." "Yes, and left 40 downstairs." His expression changed. "That's not how I think of it." "How do you think of it?" "Just 2 different parts of the evening, paid by the same person." His eyes dropped. Caitlin came closer. "Ruth, we understand you're upset about the program." "This isn't about the program." "Then what do you need?" I looked at the empty bar. No bottles had been arranged. No food had been ordered. The room was only a room. "I don't need anything from this suite." Her voice softened. "Gabriel does." He looked uncomfortable. "Caitlin." "No. She keeps asking what it means. It means his colleagues want to celebrate with him. It means we planned something special." "You planned something expensive," I said. "We can't have this conversation here. This is where you brought us." Sydney remained near the door. Caitlin noticed her. "Could we have a moment?" "I need to remain with you while the room is closed," Sydney said. "Fine." Caitlin lowered her voice. "If money is the issue, we can repay part later." "How much? We haven't discussed a number. When would later begin?" "After we recover from graduation expenses." "What expenses?" She looked at Gabriel. He answered, "My gown, her dress, gifts, some travel for her parents. None of those expenses paid for the suite." "How much can you pay today?" I asked. Neither spoke. That answer was useful too. Caitlin moved closer. "You've already spent so much. Why make the last part the problem? Because it is the part you promised before asking. We assumed family would help family." I looked at Gabriel. He didn't correct her. Sydney glanced at her watch. "I have another appointment shortly." "We're done," I said. Caitlin remained in the center of the empty suite. "Ruth, are you going to sign?" "I came to finalize the ballroom." "That's not an answer. It is the only answer I'm giving here." I walked toward the stairs. Gabriel followed. Caitlin stayed behind another moment, then came after us. At the entrance, Sydney gave me a copy of the signed base count. She also gave me 2 temporary place cards. My cousins' names were printed in black ink. Caitlin watched me slide them into the blue folio. The strategy had worked once. I had stopped asking for a place and performed the duties already carrying my name. The dinner was protected. 2 relatives had direct invitations. The neutral program was ready. Caitlin now knew exactly how I was doing it. In the parking lot, she caught up with me. "What else are you planning to change?" "Nothing." "I don't believe you. I am preserving what I paid for. And letting everything else fail?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Gabriel stood beside their car holding his keys. Caitlin looked at the blue folio under my arm. For the first time, she wasn't worried about my feelings or my speech. She was worried about the line I had left blank. The next evening, Caitlin called with a different voice. No tears, no sharpness. "Can we reset?" she asked. "What does reset mean?" "It means we stop treating each other like opponents." I didn't know we had started. She let that pass. "Gabriel and I would like to come over." "When?" "We're outside." I looked through the balcony window, though the parking lot wasn't visible from there. "You could have called earlier. I thought you might say no. That possibility generally means you should ask." "We brought something." I opened the door 3 minutes later. Gabriel carried the brass placard. For a moment, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then he turned it toward me. "Hosted by Ruth Steele." Caitlin had borrowed it from the staging cabinet. Sydney would never have allowed it to leave without recording who took it. "Why is that here?" I asked. "We wanted you to see it," Gabriel said. "I've seen it." Caitlin stepped inside. "We can put it back at the entrance." "Back where?" "At the party." "It has never been at the party." "You know what I mean." I led them to the kitchen. Gabriel placed the placard on my table. It stood between us like a small brass witness. Caitlin removed a program proof from her bag. "We can also restore your toast." I sat down. "What changed?" "We've had time to think." "One day." It was a long day. Gabriel sat across from me. "We don't want you feeling unappreciated." I looked at the placard. "What do you want?" Caitlin's calm expression tightened slightly. "We want peace." "What does peace require?" "Trust. That is not a specific answer." She took a breath. "The rooftop deadline is getting close." There it was. Gabriel touched the edge of the placard. "If we all agree to move forward, we can stop picking apart every choice." "Move forward" means I sign? "It means the whole evening happens as planned," Caitlin said. "And in exchange, my name returns." "It isn't an exchange." "Would you restore it if I couldn't pay for the rooftop?" Neither answered. I looked at Gabriel. "Would you?" He rubbed his thumb across the brass edge. "This isn't about whether you can, that is convenient." Caitlin pushed the revised proof toward me. "We are offering exactly what you asked for." I stopped asking. "Well, we're offering anyway, with a $7,600 expectation beside it." You make it sound ugly. It becomes ugly when you refuse to name it. Gabriel leaned forward. Mom, please. We can still have a good night. I intend to. Then why not settle everything now? What needs settling? The suite. That is a business decision. Caitlin's voice sharpened. It's also 40 people expecting us upstairs. You made that personal before it became contractual. They're going to ask questions. Answer them. With what? The truth available at that moment. She stared at me. I don't know who you are anymore. I looked at the placard she had brought as payment for my cooperation. I'm the same woman who signed the first agreement. Gabriel pushed back his chair. Can we not talk like this? How should we talk? Like family. Caitlin laughed softly. That word seems to mean whatever Ruth needs it to mean. I stood. No. Lately, it seems to mean I pay before I'm allowed to use it. Gabriel looked tired. Are you putting the placard back or not? He asked Caitlin. She looked at me. If we resolve the rooftop, then take it with you, I said. Gabriel's face changed. Mom, I won't rent my name from you. Caitlin snatched the program proof from the table. We tried. You negotiated. We came here to make peace. You brought a price. Gabriel lifted the placard. Do you really want us to take this back? I want you to display it because it is true. If that depends on another payment, take it. He held it against his chest. Caitlin walked toward the door. As Gabriel followed, I said his name. He stopped. Your dinner is safe, I told him. That's not the part anyone is worried about now. I am. He looked at me for several seconds. Then he left with the placard. The next morning, Caitlin made another post. It showed a stack of programs tied with dark green ribbon. Her caption said, Planning a celebration teaches you the difference between support and control. We're staying focused on the people who show up with love. She didn't name me. She didn't need to. Aunt Helen called before breakfast. Ruth, what is happening? I set down my coffee. What have you heard? Caitlin called me last night. Why? She said there were problems with the venue. She asked me not to discuss it with other guests. What problems? She said you were reconsidering parts of the party because you felt left out. I am not reconsidering the dinner. She made it sound like everything might be canceled. It won't be. Aunt Helen was quiet. She said you added the cousins without asking. Their seats were open. I know. They called me. My hand tightened around the phone. What did they say? They're not coming. Why? Caitlin told them their addition caused a serious disagreement with Gabriel. I stood from the table. Did she say Gabriel didn't want them? She said he was trying to respect his mother while protecting his own celebration. The sentence was careful enough to sound reasonable. It placed the entire problem in my hands. Did you tell them that wasn't true? I told them to call you. They haven't. They don't want to make it worse. I walked to the desk and opened the blue folio. The 2 temporary place cards lay inside. Aunt Helen, listen to me. The dinner is paid. It is going forward. Your seat is confirmed. I'm still invited? Yes. Does Gabriel want me there? He told Caitlin to restore your seat. That isn't what I asked. The women in my family had become very good at that sentence. I want you there, I said. She sighed. I love you. I also love Gabriel. I don't want to sit in the middle of something. You won't be in the middle. Where will you be? At table 1. That's not what I meant. I know. She lowered her voice. Caitlin said, you're making people choose sides. I haven't asked anyone to choose. She says you're holding something over them. I looked at the unsigned change order. Did she tell you what? No? Then she asked you to judge a blank space. Aunt Helen went quiet. Should I come? She asked. Yes. Will there be a scene? Not from me. She agreed to attend. Still, the call left a mark. Caitlin had found the strongest thing available to her. She couldn't sign my name. She could make my silence look threatening. I called my cousins. The first call went unanswered. The second reached voicemail. She called back that afternoon. "Ruth, I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. We decided it's better not to come. Those seats are yours. We know. That's part of the problem. What did Caitlin tell you? That Gabriel wanted a professional evening and you overruled him. He put you on the first list. A list isn't an invitation. I'm inviting you. I believe you. Then come." She was silent. "We don't want Gabriel looking at us all night like we're there because his mother forced us in. He won't. You can't promise that." She was right. I could confirm a chair. I couldn't confirm his welcome. "We love you," she said. "Let this one go." The phrase sounded familiar. Everybody wanted the person carrying the hurt to loosen her grip. Nobody asked the people causing it to stop. "I understand," I said. "Are you angry?" "No." "Disappointed?" "Yes." "So are we." After we ended the call, I removed their place cards from the folio. Monday's deadline had passed. Their meals were already included in the final count. The chairs could remain empty or be filled at Caitlin's request, but the money was gone either way. That was a real loss. Not only 2 dinners. I had invited family directly, and Caitlin had made accepting feel disloyal to Gabriel. At 5, Sydney emailed the final guest list. My cousins' names remained at table 4 because nobody had instructed the venue otherwise. I replied, "They have declined. Please leave the seats unassigned." Sydney answered, "Understood." 10 minutes later, Gabriel called. "Why did you involve Aunt Helen?" "I didn't." Caitlin called her. She said, "You told Aunt Helen the party was safe." "It is. You're making promises without telling us what you decided. The paid dinner is not a new promise." "I'm talking about the rooftop." "I know." He sounded exhausted. "People are asking me whether it's happening." "Why?" "Caitlin's post. What did you tell them?" "That details are being finalized." "They aren't." "What am I supposed to say? That you invited people before receiving confirmation?" "I'm not saying that to my boss." "Then choose another true sentence. There isn't one that doesn't make us look stupid." I let the silence answer. His voice dropped. "Caitlin thinks you're going to let us find out at the party." "Does she? Are you?" "You have asked me several times. You still haven't asked whether I wanted the suite. I know you don't." "Then why do you keep treating approval as likely?" "Because I thought you wouldn't embarrass me. There was the veiled threat, spoken as faith. If I left the line blank, any embarrassment would belong to me, not to the people who promised a room they couldn't open." "Gabriel, do you want me at your dinner?" He hesitated. "Yes. Do you want me there if I don't pay for the rooftop?" The pause lasted longer. "I want you to stop making everything a test. I asked one question. I don't know what happens after this if you let it fail. What does that mean? It means Caitlin is my wife. I have to live with her, and I am your mother. I know. Do you have to live honestly with me? That isn't fair. It is the only part I'm asking you to pay." He took a breath. "If you're planning to prove a point in front of everyone, maybe you shouldn't come." I closed my eyes. "I am attending the dinner I promised you. Even if we ask you not to, are you asking?" He didn't answer. "Gabriel?" "No. Then don't place Caitlin's sentence in your mouth and make me pull it out." He hung up. That evening, I laid the unsigned change order beside the revised program. Signing it could buy quiet. It might restore the placard. It might restore 2 minutes at a microphone. It might keep my son from looking at me as the cause of his embarrassment. It would also teach them that enough pressure could turn my consent into a family duty. I returned the form to the blue folio without signing it. The cost was no longer hidden from me. 2 empty chairs, a sister-in-law wondering whether I would cause a scene. A son who might decide my refusal mattered more than everything I had already given. I accepted that cost. Then I closed the folio and kept my place at the dinner. 3 days before the dinner, I asked Sydney for 20 minutes. She offered a phone call. I'd rather see the original agreement. "Of course," she said. "Tomorrow at 2?" I arrived at 1:50. The ballroom doors were closed. A delivery cart stood in the entrance hall with boxes of dark green napkins. Sydney led me into the planning room. Her black binder was already open. "I want to verify one thing," I said. She turned to the rooftop section. The change order was still there. My signature line remained blank. If I do nothing, what happens? The rooftop edition never activates. No drinks, no food, no staff. We're holding tentative staff until the deadline. Without approval, they're released. And the suite? It stays locked. Can someone give verbal approval for me? No. Can Caitlin sign? No. Can Gabriel? No. Can either of them place the charge on my account? Not without your written authorization. I looked at the single blank line. Can someone show you a text and claim it came from me? I would call you. What if I don't answer? We don't proceed. That removed the last uncertainty. The rule didn't depend on a speech. It didn't depend on anyone believing me. Sydney didn't have to choose a side. There was one account holder, one form, one signature. Mine. Sydney closed the rooftop section. Would you like me to mark it declined? No. Then it remains pending until noon on Saturday. And after noon? The staff are released. If someone asks about opening the suite later, I'll explain that the order was never authorized. I nodded. Sydney studied me. I need to ask one practical question. Go ahead. Do you want the ballroom dinner to continue under the current plan? Yes. All food and beverage? Yes. Full staff? Yes. Flowers, sound, and scheduled service? All of it. I'm asking because you could reduce some flexible items. Would I receive money back? Not this close to the event, then nothing is reduced. She made a note. The base event remains unchanged. My son earned his graduation dinner. I understand. I am not taking that from him. Sydney looked down at her binder. I don't take positions in family disagreements. I'm not asking you to. I know. I wanted to be clear. So did I. She turned to the event schedule. At 10:45, Caitlin has listed a gathering point near the stairs. For the rooftop guests? Yes. She placed that on your working schedule? She requested it as a crowd management note. It doesn't activate the suite. What happens when they gather? If the change order has not been approved, I will tell them the room is unavailable. In front of everyone? I can tell Gabriel and Caitlin privately first. Will that change whether the door opens? No. Then use your judgment. She looked at me. Caitlin may ask to see the pending form. Show it to her. It's your account document. I will be present. Sydney nodded. I'll bring the binder if the question arises. It would arise. I opened my blue folio. Please compare my copy with your original. Sydney placed them side by side. The price matched. The services matched. The account holder line matched. Neither copy carried a signature. She initialed the corner of my copy and dated it. That only confirms it matches the pending original, she said. Good. I didn't need a new document. I needed the old one to remain exactly what it was. We moved to the staging cabinet. The brass placard had been returned. Who brought it back? I asked. Caitlin. Did she give instructions? She said presentation details were still being discussed. What does your setup sheet say? Sydney checked. Place host placard at ballroom entrance. Then follow the setup sheet. I will. I didn't ask her to guard it. I didn't ask her to announce my name. The placard belonged in the normal setup. That was enough. Anything else? Sydney asked. The microphone. What about it? Who controls it during remarks? Our sound attendant. Caitlin will have it for the welcome. Then it passes to the scheduled speakers. My name is no longer scheduled. I saw that. Do not add me. Sydney raised her eyebrows slightly. All right. If I need to correct a direct statement about myself, will the microphone be available? She considered the question. I won't promise interruption access during a speech. I'm not asking to interrupt anyone. Then once a speaker finishes, you may ask the attendant. That is all I need. I closed the blue folio. Nothing about that arrangement guaranteed courage. A microphone could be available while a person remained silent. That part belonged to me. As I stood to leave, Sydney said, "You could avoid the rooftop gathering. How?" "We could remove the line from the programs. They're already printed. We can cover it with a correction label. Who would approve that?" "You could." "And what would the label say?" I imagined 80 people reading it before dinner. Caitlin would spend the entire evening explaining. Gabriel's achievement would become background to the dispute. "No," I said. "It would prevent a crowd at the stairs. It would also warn them early enough to invent another story." Sydney waited. "Leave the programs as printed," I said. "That means the disappointment happens here." "I know. You're comfortable with that?" "No." It was the truthful answer. I left the venue and drove home. Aunt Helen called that evening. "I'm still coming," she said. "I'm glad. I almost didn't." "What changed your mind? You told me the dinner was safe. Also, I'm too old to be managed by a woman calling after 9. I laughed. Caitlin called again? She wanted to make sure I understood this was Gabriel's professional celebration. "What did you say?" I said I understood whose graduation it was. I could hear dishes in the background. "Did she mention the rooftop? Did she ask whether I had discussed it?" "Yes." "What did you tell her?" "That you don't discuss other people's bills with me." "Thank you." "Ruth, why not simply show everyone the invoice?" I sat beside Donald's photograph. "Because dinner isn't a trial. She's telling people you're interfering." "I know. One photograph of the paid page would end that. It would also make Gabriel's graduation announcement look like a debt notice. He hasn't protected you." "No. Why protect him? I'm protecting what I promised, not every choice he made afterward." Aunt Helen went quiet. "You sound like Donald. He would have posted the invoice. No, he would have threatened to. Then you would have taken his phone. That sounds closer." She laughed softly. "I'll see you Saturday." "Yes." After the call, I opened Caitlin's latest post. More comments had appeared. "Keep your peace. Some people confuse generosity with ownership. You and Gabriel deserve your night." I recognized several names from the guest list. My reputation had already taken damage. Correcting it online would have been easy. I had the invoice, the agreement, the emails, and the changed program proof. I could have placed everything beneath her photograph. I didn't. The truth would be spoken where the false version was being performed. Until then, I would not turn Gabriel's graduation into a public argument. Friday afternoon, he called. "Are you ready for tomorrow? My dress is hanging on the door." "That isn't what I meant." "What did you mean?" "Are we going to be okay?" "I will be polite." "Mom, I will congratulate you. I will eat dinner. I will speak kindly to your guests. And after?" "After what?" He was silent. "The rooftop," he said. "What are you asking? Did you handle it?" "Yes." My answer was true. He released a long breath. "Thank you." I didn't correct his assumption. He had asked whether I handled the form. I had handled it. I read it, verified it, and left it unsigned. "What time are you arriving?" he asked. "Before 6. "Good. Caitlin wants family photographs at 5:45. Am I included in those?" "Of course." The word came too quickly. "Then I'll be there. Wear the green dress." "I plan to. Dad liked that color on you." I looked toward the wooden cuff-link box. "Yes." Another silence. "I should have kept the cuff links," he said. "They're here. Would it be strange if I came by tomorrow? What time? Maybe 4. I'll be getting ready." "Right. If you want them, come at 3. He hesitated. "I don't want another conversation. Then pick up the cuff links." "All right." He arrived at 3:10. I was dressed except for my shoes. My hair was pinned, and the green dress reached below my knees. Gabriel stood in the entryway wearing his navy suit. "You look nice," he said. "So do you." I brought him the wooden box. He opened it and touched the silver squares. I was an idiot. "About which part?" He gave a tired smile. "Can we make a list later? Take the cufflinks." He fastened them at my kitchen table. For a moment, his hands looked like Donald's, the same broad fingers, the same impatience with a small clasp. "Can you help?" he asked. I secured the second one. There. He turned his wrist. Thanks. He closed the box and handed it back. Are you riding with us? No, I'll drive. Caitlin said you could come with her parents. I'll drive myself. Okay. At the door, he kissed my cheek. Please let tonight be good. That depends on more than me. His face tightened. I knew you'd say something like that. You asked for a promise I can't make. He left wearing his father's cufflinks. I put on my shoes. Then I checked the blue folio, paid invoice, executed agreement, altered host materials, corrected email, unsigned rooftop change order. I wasn't carrying them to punish anyone. I carried them because Gabriel had spent weeks asking me to overlook facts he later claimed not to remember. At 5:30, I drove to 44 North Main Street. The brass placard was not beside the ballroom doors. The setup table held candles and programs. The place where my name should have stood was empty. Sydney was across the entrance hall speaking with a server. Caitlin stood near the ballroom directing photographs. She saw the blue folio beneath my arm. Then she smiled and came toward me. You look beautiful, Caitlin said. Thank you. Is that the event folder? Yes. You can leave it in the coat room. I'll keep it. Her smile held. Of course. She touched my elbow and guided me toward the photographer. We're already behind. Gabriel stood in front of the fireplace. The silver cufflinks showed beneath his sleeves. Caitlin's parents were beside him. Aunt Helen waited near the staircase. Ruth, over here, Gabriel called. I joined them. The photographer arranged us in one row. Caitlin stood close to Gabriel. I stood on his other side. Everyone toward the center, the photographer said. Gabriel placed one arm around me. The camera flashed 3 times. Then Caitlin said, now one with the graduate and the people from work. I stepped away. Gabriel didn't. He smiled through several more photographs while I stood near the program table. Sydney passed me on her way to the ballroom. The placard was set out at 4, she said quietly. It's gone now. I can see that. Did you remove it? No. She looked toward Caitlin, who was directing another group. I'll check the staging cabinet. Not yet. Sydney paused. You're sure? Yes. She continued into the ballroom. Aunt Helen joined me. You weren't exaggerating, she said. I wish I had been. She looked at the empty space beside the programs. Where are you sitting? Table 1. I'm at table 4. A server opened the ballroom doors. Guests began moving inside. I found table 1 near the platform. Gabriel's card stood beside Caitlin's. Her parents' cards were across from them. The professor and Gabriel's supervisor were there. My card wasn't. I checked the other place settings. At table 9, near the service doors, I found it. Ruth Steele. I stood there holding the back of the chair. Gabriel came over. What's wrong? I pointed to the card. His face changed. Caitlin. She was behind him. What? Why is my mother at table 9? There was a last-minute adjustment. You said table 1. Your supervisor asked whether his wife could sit with him. He was already bringing his wife. Your regional director was moved to table 1. We needed another seat. Gabriel looked toward the front. Move him back. People are already entering. So I'm not changing the room while guests are watching. He glanced at me. I waited. Caitlin lowered her voice. Ruth will be comfortable here. Helen's table is close. Aunt Helen stood several yards away. She heard enough. I can switch, she said. No, I replied. Caitlin gave me a grateful look. Thank you for understanding. I didn't say I understood. Her gratitude disappeared. Gabriel touched my shoulder. I'll fix it after cocktails. Dinner follows cocktails. I know. Then there won't be another moment. He looked at Caitlin. She was already greeting someone. I'm sorry, he said. Do you want me at table 1? Yes. Then say it to her. Guests moved around us. Gabriel looked at the occupied front table. Then he looked at Caitlin. He chose not to call her back. I'll come sit with you during dessert, he said. I pulled out my chair. That is not the same thing. I know. He returned to the front. Aunt Helen squeezed my hand before taking her own seat. Table 9 was filled with people from Gabriel's program. They were polite. None of them seemed to know who I was. A man beside me asked, "How do you know the graduate?" "I've known him all his life." He laughed. "That sounds like family." "It does." Before I could say more, the first course arrived. During dinner, guests praised the flowers. They praised the food. They praised the room. Several stopped at table 1 to congratulate Caitlin on the arrangements. "You did all this?" one woman asked. Caitlin smiled. "It took months." Gabriel looked down at his plate. He didn't say who had paid the invoice. He didn't need to announce an amount. He only needed to say, "My mother hosted." He said nothing. At 8:15, Caitlin walked to the lectern. The sound attendant handed her the microphone. "Can everyone hear me?" People nodded. She smiled at Gabriel. When my husband started this program, I knew it would demand a lot from him. I didn't realize how much it would demand from our dining room table. The room laughed. She thanked his professors. She thanked his supervisor. She thanked her parents for traveling. Then she thanked the guests from her office. These are the people who believed in what Gabriel could become. I watched my son. He stood beside the platform with his hands clasped. Donald's cufflinks caught the light. Caitlin continued. "There is one more person I should mention." Her eyes moved toward table 9. Ruth has been close to Gabriel for a very long time. She's a friend of the family who has always been very supportive. For 1 second, the room remained still. Aunt Helen turned in her chair. The man beside me whispered, "I thought you were his mother." I looked at Gabriel. He had an immediate opportunity. Caitlin lowered the microphone slightly. She glanced at him as if inviting him to add something. His mouth opened. Then he looked toward his supervisor at table 1. He said nothing. Caitlin raised the microphone again. "We're very grateful she could join us tonight." A few people clapped. I placed my napkin beside my plate. Then I stood. I walked toward the platform without hurrying. Caitlin watched me approach. Her smile became fixed. I stopped beside the sound attendant. "May I have the microphone when she finishes?" He looked toward Sydney. Sydney nodded once. Caitlin saw the exchange. She spoke quickly. "Now I'd like to invite Professor Mercer to share a few words." I held out my hand. "Before the next speaker," I said. My voice carried enough without the microphone. The professor remained seated. Caitlin looked at Gabriel. He did not move. The sound attendant took the microphone from her and gave it to me. I faced the room. "My name is Ruth Steele." Nobody spoke. "I am Gabriel's mother." A sound moved through the tables. Not loud. Chairs shifted. Someone near the front whispered, "His mother?" I looked at Gabriel. He had gone pale. "Gabriel, congratulations. Your father would be proud of your persistence. I am proud of you, too." His eyes lowered. "I hope everyone enjoys the dinner." I handed the microphone back to the sound attendant. That was all. I didn't mention the invoice. I didn't mention the guest list. I didn't mention the placard. Caitlin reached for the microphone. "Of course, Ruth is Gabriel's mother. I meant she has also been a wonderful friend to our family. The correction made it worse." Several people looked from her to me. Aunt Helen shook her head. I returned to table 9. The man beside me pulled out my chair. "That was a strange introduction," he said. "Yes." "Did she forget?" "No." He didn't ask anything else. Professor Mercer gave his remarks. Gabriel's supervisor followed. Both spoke warmly about his work. Dinner continued. The food remained hot. The staff refilled glasses. Dessert arrived on schedule. At 9:30, Gabriel came to my table. "Can we talk?" "Here?" "Outside. I'm eating dessert. Mom." I looked at the untouched cake in front of him. "What would you like to say?" He glanced at the others seated with me. "Not here." Then after dinner. Caitlin misspoke. "No." She panicked. She used the words she prepared. "You don't know that." I watched her read them. He looked toward the lectern. Her notes were still there. "I should have corrected her," he said. "Yes." I froze. "You had time." "I know." A server approached with coffee. Gabriel stepped aside. "We'll talk later," he said. "Yes." He returned to table 1. At 10:30, Caitlin began moving through the ballroom. She touched certain guests on the shoulder. She reminded them to gather near the staircase. Some carried their programs folded open to the rooftop line. At 10:40, about 30 people stood in the entrance hall. More followed. Caitlin had small, dark green wristbands in a paper bag. She handed them out while laughing. "Keep these visible for the upstairs staff." Gabriel stood beside her. He looked toward me several times. I remained at table 9 with my coffee. At 10:45, Caitlin approached Sydney. "We're ready to open the suite." Sydney held her black binder. The rooftop order was not authorized. Caitlin's smile stayed in place. It was handled. "No, it is still unsigned." Gabriel looked toward me. Caitlin lowered her voice. "Ruth has the paperwork." "Yes," Sydney said, "then there's a mistake." "There is no mistake." Guests near the staircase began listening. Caitlin walked into the ballroom. "Ruth, we need you." I stood and carried the blue folio with me. The waiting group formed a loose half-circle near the stairs. Sydney opened her binder. She removed the original rooftop change order. The signature line was blank. "This is the pending edition," she said. Caitlin stared at it. "Ruth, you told Gabriel you handled it." "I did. You said that yesterday." "Yes." Gabriel's voice was quiet. "I thought you signed. You never asked what handling meant." Caitlin pointed toward the form. "Sign it now." "The deadline passed at noon," Sydney said. "Then why are we looking at it?" "Because you asked to open a suite that was never activated." Caitlin turned to me. "Tell her to fix it." "I cannot authorize your mother's account," Sydney said. "I'm speaking to Ruth." "I know." Everyone was listening now. I looked at the amount at the bottom of the form. Then I looked at Gabriel. "Did you tell these people the rooftop was confirmed?" His face tightened. "We thought it was. I asked whether you told them." "Yes." Caitlin stepped closer. "This isn't the time. It became the time when you gathered them." She lowered her voice. "Please, put it on the account and deal with me later." "No." Her eyes widened. "Ruth, I will not pay $7,600 for the rooftop." Several guests looked toward Caitlin. She gripped the edge of the form. "This was part of Gabriel's celebration. The dinner is Gabriel's celebration. It is paid and still open." Sydney nodded. "The contracted ballroom service continues until 11. Caitlin looked at Sydney. "Can we pay separately? If you had completed a separate agreement before the deadline. What if we use a card now? The staff assigned to the suite were released at noon. Call them back. They are no longer available." Gabriel rubbed both hands over his face. Caitlin looked at him. "Do something." He pulled out his wallet. "How much would we need to pay now?" "The suite cannot open tonight," Sydney said. "There is no active contract for it." Caitlin's voice broke. "But all these people are waiting." Sydney remained calm. "The ballroom is available for another 15 minutes. The bar and coffee service remain open there." A man holding a wristband asked, "So there's no after party?" Gabriel looked at Caitlin. She looked at me. Neither answered. Sydney closed the change order and returned it to her binder. Then she went to the staging cabinet. She came back carrying the brass placard. Caitlin stared at it. Sydney placed it on the entrance table beside the programs. Hosted by Ruth Steele. "This identifies the contracting host for the dinner," Sydney said. "Ruth is the sole person authorized to add services to her account. No addition was approved. That was the whole mechanism. No hidden ownership. No canceled graduation dinner. No authority choosing my family for me. Only the agreement they had relied on without reading." The waiting guests looked from the placard to Gabriel. One woman removed her wristband. Another folded hers into her handbag. People began returning to the ballroom. Caitlin remained beside the stairs with the bag of unused bands. Gabriel stepped in front of the group. "The rooftop isn't happening," he said. "I'm sorry, we should not have called it confirmed." His voice shook, but he finished. "Please enjoy the rest of the dinner my mother hosted." Nobody applauded. They didn't need to. Gabriel had finally said the sentence while it still cost him something. The remaining guests went back into the ballroom. Some avoided looking at me. Others looked too long. Caitlin stayed near the staircase. "You knew," she said. "I knew what I signed. You knew people were coming upstairs. I learned after you invited them. You could have warned us. I asked why you promised an unapproved room. That wasn't a warning. It was an opportunity." She folded the paper bag around the unused wristbands. "You wanted this to happen in public. I wanted you to stop asking me to hide in public." Gabriel stepped between us. "Not here." Caitlin laughed. "Now he says not here." A couple near the ballroom doors heard her. They walked inside without speaking. Sydney handed the binder to a staff member, gave a few quiet instructions, and left the entrance hall. Her part was finished. She had enforced the agreement. What happened between us wasn't her responsibility. Aunt Helen came out of the ballroom. "Coffee is still being served," she said. Caitlin looked at her. "Not now, Helen." Aunt Helen took my arm. "I wasn't speaking to you." I almost smiled. She led me back to table 9. The brass placard remained beside the doors. Every person returning to the room passed it. The man seated beside me looked at my program. "I owe you an apology," he said. "For what?" I thanked Caitlin for hosting. "You believed what you were told." "Still," he held up his coffee cup. "Thank you for dinner." "You're welcome." A woman from Gabriel's office stopped beside my chair. "The flowers are lovely. I'm glad you like them. And the meal was wonderful. Hearthstone did a good job." She lowered her voice. "I didn't know you were Gabriel's mother, that was clear." Her face reddened. "I'm sorry, you didn't introduce me." She nodded and moved away. Those conversations continued until 11. They were brief. Nobody demanded details. They had seen enough to understand the important part. At 10:55, Gabriel went back to the lectern. His closing remarks had been planned as a thank you to his professors and colleagues. He still thanked them. Then he looked toward table 9. "I also want to thank my mother, Ruth." The room went quiet again. She made this dinner possible. I should have said that sooner. He didn't explain. He didn't blame Caitlin. He didn't mention the rooftop. It was the first public acknowledgement he gave without me placing the words in front of him. I nodded once. That was all I could give him then. At 11, the staff began clearing glasses. The music stopped. Guests collected coats. Nobody went upstairs. Several professional guests left quickly. Others hugged Gabriel and told him congratulations as though they were trying to return the evening to its original purpose. Caitlin's regional director shook her hand. "Monday," he said quietly. Her face tightened. I didn't know what they would discuss. It wasn't my concern. Aunt Helen waited while I gathered my things. "Do you want me to follow you home?" she asked. "No, I'm fine to drive." "You're sure?" "Yes." She looked toward Gabriel and Caitlin. "They're waiting for you." "I know. Call me tomorrow." "I will." She kissed my cheek and left. Gabriel stood near the empty entrance table. Caitlin was beside him with her arms folded. The brass placard remained between us. "Can we talk in the planning room?" Gabriel asked. "Sydney is gone. We don't need her. No, we don't." We entered the small room. I placed the blue folio on the table. Caitlin closed the door. "You humiliated us," she said. Gabriel looked at her. "Let me speak first." "No." "She planned that. I did not plan your introduction. You planned the rooftop refusal. I decided not to pay. You let us think you had. I let you live with the assumption you made before asking me." Gabriel sat down. "You told me you handled it. I did. You knew what I thought." "Yes." His face twisted. "That feels cruel. It probably does. You could have told me yesterday. I could have. Why didn't you? Because every private warning became another request for me to protect the story you were telling." Caitlin leaned against the wall. "So this was revenge?" "No. Revenge would have canceled the dinner. You wanted everyone to see we couldn't afford the rooftop. I wanted you to stop spending my money before receiving my consent. Gabriel put both hands on the table. You should have told me directly. I did. At my table, I asked why you chose guests for a room you had not paid for. You didn't say no. I didn't say yes. I thought family helped family. That sentence belongs to your wife. He looked at Caitlin. She stared at the floor. I opened the blue folio. I placed the paid invoice in front of Gabriel, then the original guest list, then the invitation without my name, then the revised host materials and Gabriel's correction to Sydney. Finally, I placed the unsigned rooftop change order on top. The pages covered most of the table. Gabriel read the dates. His finger stopped on the instruction about the placard. Remove host placard at client request, he read. Then he saw Sydney's correction beneath it. Requested by Caitlin, not Ruth's preference. He looked at his wife. You said it was just a visual choice. It was. You told Sydney Mom asked for it. I explained that. No, you explained it to Mom. You told me you had handled the sign. I did handle it. He looked down at the program proofs. Hosted by Gabriel and Caitlin. That wasn't printed, she said. I changed it, after Mom found it. Because she was reviewing everything behind my back. She signed the agreement. Caitlin's eyes filled. Whose side are you on? Gabriel rubbed his forehead. This isn't a side. It has been all month. No, we made it one. She looked at me. You're enjoying this. I was tired of that accusation. I paid for 80 dinners. I ate mine beside a service door. What part looked enjoyable? Her mouth opened, then closed. Gabriel studied the invoice. You paid the full amount the day you signed. Yes. You didn't split it? No. He read the rooftop order again. And this was separate. Yes. I should have read it. Yes, I thought it was just being added. It could only be added with my signature. He looked at the blank line. I'm sorry, Mom. I closed the folio halfway. For what? For not asking. For the table. For the microphone. He swallowed. For letting her call you that. Caitlin pushed away from the wall. She already corrected it. Do we have to keep repeating it? Gabriel turned toward her. You introduced my mother as someone who wasn't my mother. I panicked. You had notes. The notes didn't say that exact sentence. Then why did you say it? She looked at me instead, because every time I saw her I felt judged. I asked where my name went, I said. You made me feel like nothing I did mattered because I didn't write the check. The work mattered. The lie did not. I didn't lie. Gabriel pointed toward the documents. You told people we hosted. We did. My mother hosted. We organized. Caitlin's face hardened. That distinction has ruined the entire night. No, I said. Your need to hide it did. She picked up her handbag. I'm done. Gabriel stood. Caitlin. No, you two can have your paperwork meeting. She left the room. The door closed behind her. Gabriel remained standing. I need to go after her. Yes, but I don't want to leave it like this. We cannot fix it tonight, I apologized. I heard you. Isn't that something? It is a beginning. It is not repair. He sat again. What do you want me to do? I don't want another promise made in this room. Then what? Go home. Look at the pages. Decide what you did without adding a reason after every sentence. He looked at the folio. Can I take copies? I'll email them. He nodded. Then he glanced at his cufflinks. Dad would be ashamed of me. Your father is not here to answer that. I know what he would say. So do I. That doesn't make either of us him. Gabriel touched one silver square. Do you want these back? No. Why not? Because your father gave them to you by leaving them with me. Tonight does not change that. His eyes filled. I looked away long enough to close the folio. One more thing, I said. What? I will not finance another appearance for you. He wiped his face. Ever? Do not ask me for money. If there is a genuine emergency, I will decide what I can do. Parties, upgrades, trips, and convenience are finished. He stared at the table. Is that punishment? No. It is a boundary I should have set earlier. What about us? That depends on what you do when you don't need access to my account. He nodded slowly. Then he went after his wife. I drove home alone. Before bed, I checked my phone. Caitlin's post about support and control had gathered new comments. One guest had written, "Gabriel's mother hosted the dinner. This post should come down." Another wrote, "After tonight, this caption feels unfair." The photograph disappeared before midnight. No apology replaced it. At 8 the next morning, Gabriel emailed me. The subject line said, "Guest addresses." His message contained one sentence. "I need the complete mailing list because every person there deserves a corrected thank you." I didn't answer immediately. Asking for addresses was a task. Completing the letters would be action. I closed the email and waited to see which one he would choose. At noon, I sent him the addresses. I included Aunt Helen and my cousins, even though the cousins had not attended. Gabriel replied, "Thank you." 2 days later, he sent me a draft. The card said, "Thank you for attending the graduation dinner hosted by Ruth Steele. We failed to acknowledge her honestly during the event, and we are correcting that now." Beneath it were 2 names, Gabriel and Caitlin Steele. I read the card several times. Then I called him. "Did Caitlin write this with you?" "Yes." "Did she agree to send it to everyone?" "Yes." "Even her supervisor?" "Especially him." "Why especially?" Gabriel paused. "Because he asked her Monday who had actually paid Hearthstone." "What did she say?" "She told him you did. That was the first correction made where I wasn't standing nearby." "Are you changing the wording?" he asked. "No." "Do you want us to say you're my mother?" "They learned that at the dinner." His voice grew quiet. "Yes." "Send the cards. We will." A week passed. I didn't call to check. On Friday, my copy arrived in the mail. The envelope was cream, but it wasn't from the original invitation order. Gabriel had addressed it by hand. Both signatures were real. Caitlin's writing leaned slightly to the right. Gabriel's name sat beneath hers. Inside, he had added a separate note. "All cards mailed Tuesday. We paid for printing and postage. I did not ask Mom to reimburse us." The last sentence wasn't written for me. He had addressed himself. I placed the card in the blue folio. Then I moved the folio from my desk to the bottom drawer. It remained there for another week. Gabriel called twice during that time. Neither call involved money. The first was brief. "How are you?" "I'm fine." "Really?" "Mostly. I miss Sunday dinner." I looked at the calendar beside my refrigerator. "I miss who we were at Sunday dinner." He was quiet. "Can I come this week?" "No." "Okay." He didn't argue. That mattered. The second call came on Wednesday evening. "Caitlin wants to apologize. She had several opportunities." "I know. Does she know?" "Yes." "Why now?" "Because the letters went out. She's heard from people." "What did they say?" "Some were kind. Some weren't." "Is she apologizing because people weren't kind?" I asked her that. "What did she say?" "She said that was how she first knew she couldn't make the story go away." I sat at my kitchen table. "That is more honest than what she said before. Will you see us?" "Not tonight." "Saturday?" "For coffee." "At 2. "We'll be there." They arrived at 1:55. Caitlin carried a bakery box. I almost laughed when I saw it. "Lemon cake?" I asked. "Yes." Gabriel brought lemon cake the night he told me about the placard. She looked at him. "He didn't tell me that. There are many things he should tell you." We sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee. Nobody touched the cake. Caitlin placed both hands around her mug. "I owe you an apology." "Yes." She looked startled by the answer. Gabriel stared into his coffee. Caitlin continued, "I introduced you falsely." Her voice shook, but she didn't cry. "I knew you were Gabriel's mother. I knew you had paid for the dinner. I wanted people to believe we had created the whole evening ourselves." She stopped. I waited. "I told myself you wouldn't care about credit," she said. "Then when you did care about being acknowledged, I decided you were controlling." I looked at her. Why? Because that made my choices feel reasonable. Gabriel glanced toward me. Caitlin continued. I removed your name from the invitation. I moved your seat. I removed your toast. I asked for the placard to be taken away. You also called my relatives. Yes, why? To make you back down. There was no softer version attached. That made the answer painful, but useful. And the introduction, I asked. I had planned to thank you without explaining your role. When I saw you at the back table, I panicked. You saw me where you placed me. I know. You looked directly at Gabriel. Yes, what did you expect him to do? Stay quiet, Gabriel closed his eyes. And you did, I said to him. Yes. He looked at me. I was afraid correcting her would expose everything. What was everything? That we couldn't afford the party, that you paid, that we let people think we did, and after she introduced me, I still chose the appearance. He didn't say he froze. That was different. Caitlin pushed her coffee away. I'm sorry, Ruth. I believe you regret it. Do you forgive me? No. Her face tightened. Gabriel looked at me. Mom. She asked a direct question. Caitlin nodded slowly. What would forgiveness take? I don't know yet. We sent the cards. Yes. We corrected people. Yes. I came here and told the truth. Yes. She pressed her lips together. What else can I do? Continue when the embarrassment fades. She looked down at the table. Gabriel took an envelope from his jacket. We made a repayment plan. He placed a sheet in front of me. The balance began at $18,400. They proposed paying $400 each month. I looked at him. The dinner was a gift. It was. Why repay it? Because we accepted the gift and denied the giver. Caitlin looked at the sheet. We used your money to look more successful than we were. That doesn't change what Gabriel earned. No, she said. It changes what we did with the celebration. I read the schedule. 46 monthly payments would clear the amount. There was no interest. Can you afford $400? I asked. Yes, Gabriel said. Without missing rent? Yes. Without putting it on a card? Yes, Caitlin added. We canceled 2 weekend trips. I returned the paper. I don't need interest. We didn't include any, Gabriel said. I saw. Will you accept the payments? I looked at both of them. Yes, Caitlin exhaled. This doesn't buy forgiveness, I said. We know, Gabriel replied. Do you? Yes, it repays money, that's all. I folded the schedule. When does it start? Next month. Then I'll give you a receipt each time. Gabriel nodded. We ate 1 slice of lemon cake each. They stayed 40 minutes. When they left, Gabriel paused beside the calendar. Should I ask about Sunday again? Not yet. All right. He kissed my cheek. Caitlin didn't. She said goodbye and waited in the hallway. The next month tested them in quieter ways. Gabriel called on Sundays, but he didn't assume dinner. He asked whether I was free. When I said no, he accepted it. Caitlin sent me a copy of every response that came from the corrected thank you cards. Some guests only said they understood. One apologized for repeating her post. Another thanked me again for the meal. Caitlin didn't ask me to comfort her about the harsher replies. That mattered, too. Then she made a public correction on the same account where the programs had appeared. The photograph showed the brass placard at Hearthstone House. Her caption said, Ruth Steele hosted Gabriel's graduation dinner. I failed to acknowledge that, honestly, at the event. No excuses followed. I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. I took a screenshot and closed the app. 3 weeks later, Gabriel called. I want to invite you to dinner. At my house? No, at ours. What are we celebrating? Nothing. That sounds suspicious. He laughed. It's just dinner. Caitlin and I are cooking. What are you cooking? Pasta. From a jar? Caitlin says I'm not allowed to answer. I smiled. When? Saturday at 6. Aunt Helen is coming too. Who is paying? We are. Then yes. Their apartment looked less polished than the photographs they posted. A laundry basket sat behind the sofa. Grocery receipts were held to the refrigerator with a magnet. Gabriel had set 4 places at their small table. Caitlin made baked pasta and salad. Gabriel burned one edge of the garlic bread. Nobody rearranged the table. Nobody told me where I should sit. My place was beside Gabriel. Before we ate, Caitlin lifted her water glass. "I want to say something." Aunt Helen looked at me. I remained quiet. Caitlin continued. "Ruth is Gabriel's mother. She hosted his graduation dinner. We treated her generosity as something to hide, and we treated her place in this family as negotiable." Gabriel looked at me. "It isn't," he said. They didn't ask me to respond. That helped more than another apology would have. We ate dinner. Gabriel talked about work. Aunt Helen complained about parking. Caitlin asked whether I wanted more salad, then accepted no the first time. After dessert, Gabriel gave me an envelope. Inside was a check for $400. "The first payment," he said. I looked at the date. It matched the schedule. "Did you write this from your account?" "Our household account," Caitlin said. "The money came from both paychecks. I placed the check back in the envelope. I'll deposit it Monday." Gabriel nodded. "Can we come to your place next Sunday?" I looked at Caitlin. She waited. "No party planning," I said. "No planning," Gabriel replied. "No envelopes, no requests for money." Caitlin gave a small, embarrassed smile. "No requests." 5 o'clock, I said. Gabriel leaned back. "Should we bring anything?" "Ask me Sunday morning." He laughed. "I walked into that." "Yes." The contact remained limited. I didn't give them a key to my condominium. I didn't return to paying for repairs, dinners, or trips. I didn't pretend the ballroom had become harmless because they finally admitted what happened there. But they kept sending the payments. They asked before visiting. Caitlin stopped speaking for my preferences. Gabriel corrected her once when she nearly did, and she accepted it without turning the evening into an argument. That was the plain change I needed. Not a perfect family, not permanent gratitude, just a place that didn't depend on what I could purchase. On Sunday afternoon, I deposited the check and wrote the receipt at my desk. Then I took out 3 everyday plates. I placed Gabriel's first repayment receipt beneath Donald's framed photograph before setting 2 additional places at my table.